academia and other places have reduced secularism to minorityism. What is minorityism? It is a state where executive power or legislative power is wielded to benefit the minority, quite often at the expense of the majority. The impact of this selectiveness, this selective secularism, this minorityism is now all too apparent, viewers. Hindu temples are controlled by the state in isolation. No other faith sees its places of worship being arrogated to the state, hypothecated to the state. The donations of followers being taken by the state. This happens in India, viewers. It happens exclusively with Hindu temples. Hindu religious customs are regulated by the law passed by the state, but minorities are allowed to live by their own personal laws. Hindu demands for justice are ignored. Viewers, today, this appeasement of minorities has reached absurd lengths. In Kerala's capital, the state swooped in to ban saffron decorations put up for the Bhadrakali temple festival. This happened yesterday. Thankfully, today, the High Court stepped in and categorically told the communist government in Kerala that the state can't meddle with affairs of the temple. Small mercies, viewers. Small mercies. Today, viewers, rather shockingly, in Panki town of Palamu district in Jharkhand, decorations put up for the pious Hindu festival of Shivratri came under attack. What should have been a joyous preparation for one of the holiest days for Hindus, Mahashivratri turned into a savage clash. As per reports, when a Toran gate was being put up for the Mahashivratri procession, a group began to vehemently object and pull down the archway. Not just that, the group began to pelt stones at the devotees. This led to reprisals, a free-for-all. Soon both sides began pelting stones at each other, and you can see those pictures, viewers, right there. A dozen people were injured. Caught in the crossfire were women and children. Around 20 young children were stuck in their school as rampaging mobs took over the streets. Scared and stranded, these children were kept inside as prohibitory orders were imposed outside. Even the police, viewers, were not spared. When they tried to intervene to restore calm, the SDPO's vehicle was attacked and he was injured as well. Dozens of police personnel have been injured. This is not the first time communal violence has gripped Jharkhand. Just last year, two communities clashed over a Ram Navami procession. There's clearly a pattern, but worryingly, attacks on Hindus are even erupting today globally, viewers. Overnight in Canada, a mandir was defiled with anti-Hindu graffiti. This, remember, is just one of the many hate crimes. Hindus and their places of worship, and let me show you those pictures from Canada, viewers. Repulsive defacement. Repulsive. You can see it in the middle of your screens. All sorts of gunk written on the superstructure of Hindu places of worship. Viewers, these attacks, as I told you, are not just restricted to Canada, Australia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, several other countries. The trouble is, despite the growing evidence of bigotry, self-styled Lutyens, crusaders for rights and secularism are deathly quiet. Had, of course, Hindus not been victims, the ecosystem would have erupted. In the past, this has been the case. Let me take you through, viewers, in the past what people have said. Asaduddin Owaisi, who talks about interpersonal, interfaith relations, harmony, togetherness, brotherhood, is very selective. He's quiet today, has talked about past incidents where he says Muslims are being punished for merely being Muslim. I wonder what he would have had said after watching these pictures today. Clearly, viewers, this narrative that he has spun would not hold up, would it? No, it wouldn't, viewers. Let me talk you through other reactions that have come in on this and in the past. Let's look at, apart from Asaduddin Owaisi, let's look at Rahul Gandhi, for instance. He was out on a Bharat Jodo Yatra recently, viewers, to bring people together. These pictures that you are seeing, these violent clashes where one community is targeted, its customs targeted, are happening in a state where the Congress is also in power. It's in a coalition with the JMM. But viewers, he's silent. When it comes to clashes, CA, NRC, weapons of mass polarization by fascists, completely silenced, viewers. His Bharat Jodo ended, and that was the end of it. These are the forces of Bharat Todo, and they are happening in a Congress-governed state, viewers. Bear that in mind. Let's look at Teesta Setalwad, another activist. Muslims arrested for riots to show they aren't equal. Equality, viewers, as I told you, is a one-way street in this country. Arundhati Roy, efforts are being made to normalize Islamophobia. Free pass. Whitewashing, however, of Hinduphobia, Hindu-misia. Open letter by 49 personalities recently, lynching of Muslims and other minorities must stop. Jai Shri Ram has become provocative war cry today. Viewers, not a word on Palamu. Not a word. Here's a ground report that you must witness.
अभी मौजूद है ग्राउंड जीरो पर, जहां से इस घटना की शुरुआत हुई। आपको हम दिखा रहे हैं कि जो ये घटना था यहीं से शुरुआत हुई, यहीं पे तोरण द्वार लगाया जाना था, जहां पर दोनों पक्षों के बीच इसी को लेकर विवाद हुई। ये जो जगह है पांकी के मस्जिद चौक के पास है, मस्जिद चौक के पास जहां पर ये घटना घटी है, और इसी जगह पर दोनों पक्षों में विवाद हुआ। विवाद के बाद दोनों पक्षों में झड़प शुरू, झड़प के बाद यहाँ पर पत्थरबाजी हुई। देखिए किस तरह क्षतिग्रस्त किया गया है दुकान को, किस तरह तोड़ा गया है, और कितनी जो सड़क है, सड़कों पे पत्थर देख सकते हैं क्या बिछी हुई है। इस घटना में जो जगह है जिसको जो उपद्रवियों द्वारा जो तोड़फोड़ की गई है, आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे जो बाइक है उसको क्षतिग्रस्त किया गया है पूरी तरह। यही वो ब्राइट फ्यूचर स्कूल है जहाँ पर बच्चे इस घटना के बाद फंस गए थे और जिन्हें प्रशासन के द्वारा रेस्क्यू किया गया टाइम्स नाउ पर खबर चलने के बाद। हालांकि घटना के बाद जैसे ही पलामू प्रशासन की इस बात की पता चली तो पलामू प्रशासन के जो आला अधिकारी हैं वहाँ पार्टी में कैंप किए हुए हैं। आईजी हो, डीसी हो, एसपी हो, यहाँ पर कैंप हुए हैं और पूरी तरह ये क्षेत्र पुलिस की छावनी में तब्दील हो चुकी है। लगा दिया है सब तोड़ दिया। हम लोग गरीब आदमी क्या करेंगे सर बताइए। देखिए तो माहौल
Viewers, this story you will not see on any other news channel tonight. You will not see it in Latvian's media. You will not see it in the bastions of self-styled secular media, viewers. You won't see it there. They will pass this by, and if you talk about it, if Times Now raises this story, talks about Hindu phobia, scores will troll and villainize. They will villainize, viewers. They will villainize. They will even villainize some of the panelists tonight. Within minutes, your timeline will be flooded with invective, abuse. They will say you're whipping up hate. Truth matters very little to them. From Kashmir to Kerala, truth doesn't matter, in fact. In fact, it gets in the way, viewers, of their narrative, which is centered around othering. Who? Hindus, viewers. How will they be able to write for the Guardians and the BBCs and all the other foreign publications if their narrative falls flat? I wonder why, viewers. Why doesn't someone hold mainstream debates on stories such as this, or what is happening in Canada, Australia, etc., or what happened in Kashmir, or in other parts of this country, or what is happening in Kerala? Rahul Ishwar is here with us. Rahul Ishwar, you tell me, apart from one or two news outlets,
nobody even carried.
Why? Rahul Ishwar, I want to ask you before I bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
And Rahul, just to give a ground feel.
Yeah, you are from Kerala. That's why I've come to you first. Tell me.
Just imagine the audacity, arrogance of the police here saying that, no, they should not use saffron when it connects to a temple festival. See, will they ever say to a Muslim mosque or a church and the Christian brothers or Muslim brothers that they should not use their religious or spiritual flags, or they should not use green in their mosque? So it is that brazen where the so-called pseudo-secular government is using police as an instrument to intimidate the poor sadhu Hindus, because they feel when the government intimidates thee, you will fall for it. But thankfully, beyond politics, Hindus really strike back, especially the women. We should appreciate them. They all came in the saffron blouse, saying that saffron is our color of the dharma, saffron is the color of our culture. So this is the brazen attitude. And as you rightly said, in India, institutionalized Hindu phobia is called secularism. If you have to be secular, you have to bash Hindus, you have to blame Hindus, you have to criticize Hindus continuously. So this has become a hallmark of so-called Indian pseudo-secularism. This is not genuine pluralism. This is only some kind of antipathy towards Hindu community. And just look at the timeline of the famous left liberals and the ecosystem. Something happened in Canada, no condemnation. Something happened in Australia, no condemnation. In Kerala. So if it happens, the only question to any left liberal is, had the same thing happened that in Kerala or Palamu or Jharkhand to a Christian community or Muslim community or any other community, would you not have raised your voice? Would you not be up in arms? Would you not be saying, India has really, our democracy died, our freedom died, India is right now ruled by fascism? So when something happens to Hindu community, they don't bother. And just one last line. I lived in Kerala where Kashmiri Pandit issue was never discussed by any so-called liberal. See, when things like Kashmir file came, thankfully, many people even woke up to that reality that lakhs of people lost their life, because that will fall flat the narrative of the perpetual Muslim victimhood and the eternal Hindu fascism. So these are the unfortunate truths that we have to face, and we have to wake up our people in the right sense, saying that facts are facts. There should not be phobia against any faith. We should have harmony. But at the same point of time, saffron phobia should not be branded as progressive, should not be branded as secular, should not be branded as something to look forward to.
Viewers, let me also tell you, and I don't mind risking the opprobrium of the great justices of this country, but extremism directed against Hindus is continually ignored even by the courts. Viewers, not once but twice the Supreme Court has rejected demands by the afflicted Hindus for a probe, a mere probe, an SIT into the genocide in Kashmir. You may think that Nupur Sharma crossed the line and said what she said against the Prophet and she deserves to be punished under the law. Fair enough. Do so. But viewers, extremist reactions to what she said and those who supported her, the Sartan se Juda slogans, etc., were also rationalized by our courts. The Supreme Court came out and blamed Nupur Sharma, saying you're the villain of the... When was the last time the Supreme Court stepped up to the plate, for example, viewers, and took to task those people who said hang her from the public square? There's an MP of Parliament, viewers, who said this. He is getting a salary paid by the state. His great boss, Asaduddin Owaisi, who's a barrister at law, knows the book, the legal book here, like the back of his hand, knows that a crime was committed there by his own MP. He's silent. Viewers, Dr. Anand Ranganathan likes to quote a phrase. It's a closed corporation. This is a closed ecosystem. I will paraphrase Dr. Ambedkar's words that Dr. Anand Ranganathan talks about. This is a closed ecosystem, viewers, that works significantly to other Hindus in this country. And increasingly, viewers, they want to dismantle Hinduness internationally, globally. Look at the reaction that came in the United Kingdom to the attacks on Hindus. It took, viewers, a British report to say what our liberals here could not say. And I want to bring in Dr. Ranganathan and Lokesh Jindal now. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this absolute silence, this petrified silence of this human rights lobby? I mean, we have a situation where in Kerala, forget about Palamu for a moment. People will say, oh, how are you, assuming things, this, that, the other. But in Kerala, temple is told, remove all your saffron decorations. Saffron makes us see red. Now you tell me, what is this?
Good evening, Rahul. After that horrendous event in Kerala, I won't be surprised if a day soon comes when they would ask the saffron to be removed from our flag. Yeah. Honestly, it is getting to be that. But I want to sincerely thank you for time after time highlighting these issues, because if you don't do it, there are very few, if at all any, in the media who are going to do it. Because let us not shy away from the fact that Hindus are being targeted around the world. And this is the price they have to pay for their tolerance. It's as simple as that. From Leicester to Toronto to Dhaka to Melbourne to Thiruvananthapuram to Palamu, there have been hundreds of Hindu-phobic attacks. Ironically, as you pointed out just now, the local Western press covers these attacks more than the Indian press. That is selective and agenda-driven because it wants to portray India as an anti-Muslim fascist Hindutva state. Let me give you just a few examples because, Rahul, as you know, you can only destroy their propaganda through facts. In Madhopur, Muslim mob assaulted Dalit women as their procession was playing music while passing by a mosque. In Tonk, Muslim mob pelted stones attacked a Gujjar marriage procession with sharp-edged weapons. In Barabanki, a 45-strong Muslim mob assaulted Hindu religious procession with sticks, injuring 10. In Aligarh, in Marma, in Jharkhand, Muslim mobs assaulted Hindu religious processions with awful bad language. Multiple places there was stone pelting. On Ram Navami, Muslims lay down in front of Hanuman Jayanti Shobha Yatra to halt it. Since 2017, there have been more than 200 documented instances of hate crime attacks, lynchings, attempted lynchings by Muslim mobs and Hindus, Dalits and non-Dalits, including in Ranchi, where a Muslim mob segregated bus passengers based on their religion before wanting to set it on fire. Remember Bharat Yadav, who was lynched after being called a kafir, or vandalizing a temple in Delhi while chanting Allahu Akbar and Nara Tadbir, or lynching Gangaram because he dared to file a police complaint when his daughter was abducted, or going on a arson and murderous rampage in Bangalore over alleged blasphemy by a Dalit, or breaking Ambedkar statue, running amok with swords, thrashing Dalit families after they objected to a Dalit girl, Sarita, being assaulted by a Muslim, or nearly lynching a Dalit, Jayanti Bhati, for daring to wear a Pathan suit, threatening to kill him if he wears it again. None of these incidents elicit a response or outrage from the cottage industry of activists and journalists who only highlight incidents where Muslims are the victims. And as for mainstreaming of hate, let me remind you of what happened to Kamlesh Tiwari and Nupur Sharma, and how lakhs of Muslims poured onto the streets screaming Gustakhe Rasool ki ek hi saza sar tan se juda. Rahul, just 30 seconds. You cannot cure these propagandists. If there's one thing I've learned over the last 8 years, they are like the Rakt Beej. Their every drop of blood spawns more of the same. Right from the church attacks narrative to running selective hate trackers to multiple stories of fake Jai Shri Ram slogan triggering, they have perfected selective outrage. If it isn't stone pelting on Ram Navami or Durga processions, it is stone pelting at Garba. But all around us, all we see are dara hua Musalmans.
So let me bring in Mr. Jindal. Mr. Jindal, do you admit that there are hate crimes taking place against Hindus? And if you do admit this, what is the reason for it?
Rahul, I believe that in order to make somebody a savior, you need to make someone victim. And right now, the narrative that BJP is setting forth to make a leader a savior of Hindus, it has to create a narrative that Hindus are being victims. There is a phobia that is all across the globe, whereby Hindus are being exploited, they are being victimized, but there is nothing like that. Now, tomorrow we are having elections in Tripura, and look at the timing. I mean, all the organizations affiliated with BJP, they know it very well when to create what form of discord to be manufactured at what point of time. I mean, the schedule is always ready. So just before the elections, why is it that last year in February and March, when the election calendar was released, all the riots were to happen in February, March and April only? By April, they have sprayed kerosene all over the country because it suits their political purpose. Few lives are lost, so it doesn't matter to them. Hindu religion is being abused. A Hindu's image globally is destroyed, but it doesn't matter to them. What matters to them are few seats, few votes, and an electoral victory.
So let me ask you.
So this is all a
since your
narrative
government, since your party is in power in government there in Jharkhand, let me ask you a simple question, Lokesh Jindal. In this small town of Palamu, who would bring down a Shivratri Toran, a gateway, built for a Hindu procession? Who do you think would do it? Are you saying the BJP has done it, sir?
No, I would say somebody with an insane mind, somebody who has lost his senses and does not have a basic, common sense.
Who?
And
Who's
communally very much disturbed. Such forms of elements, they indulge into such activities.
Okay, so mentally,
now, these could be from either
challenged.
religion.
You're saying a mentally challenged person. This is not one person. This is a whole bunch of people.
I won't say a mentally challenged.
Then what are you saying?
A communally charged person.
Okay, so what would make them? Okay, so Mr. Jindal, what would make them? You would admit that this was an attack on a Hindu symbol, yes or no? In
yes,
Parliament?
certainly.
Yes. So then, sir, what would bring out this hate? And what would you call this hate?
Yes, Rahul. In 80s and 90s, there used to be a movie plot. If the hero wanted to impress the heroine, his friends used to go and they used to create the scene that the heroine is in danger, and then suddenly used to come as a savior. Now, when such forms of incidents happen, the police has to investigate whether these incidents were indeed communal or it was manufactured by the party which benefits the most.
Wow, look at this, Mr. Jindal. My God, manufactured. So I want to ask you then, what manufacturing took place in the minds of the Kerala police controlled by the Kerala state that called upon a temple to remove, saffron decorations? Can I ask you this?
The police gave a simple recommendation that all colors should be used.
Right, right.
And over here, the
would they give would you say that
Mr.
Jindal, would you say that the Kerala police should also give instructions to masjids to hang up saffron decorations?
I would say the police, its task is to maintain law and order.
Right.
And
so
hanging,
so listen to this. Viewers, in a Hindu temple, you can't put up saffron decorations because it will impact law and order. Tomorrow they'll say, remove, one second. Tomorrow they will go to the absurd length. Excuse me. Jindal Saab, one second.
It was along the road.
Jindal Saab.
The decoration.
Jindal Saab. Please, the High Court has come in and said, please do not interfere in this. They've told the police. Okay, the courts have stepped in and said this is absurd, it is idiotic, it is stupid. And you are today suggesting that the Hindus were out to provoke. This happens year after year. Tomorrow they'll say, remove all the idols, don't take out. No, hang on. This is a ridiculous length to this can go. In Mumbai, viewers, 1 second. 1 minute. On Ganpati, viewers, people take for immersion. And I want to come to Ratan Shradda ji. Sir, you are a Mumbaikar, you live in Maharashtra. I want to ask you a question. What happens during Ganpati? What do we see?
Rahul, there are some ludicrous arguments.
So should all Hindus not take their Ganpatis anymore for immersion?
See, Rahul, being Hindu itself has become provocative these days. There is new kind of racism where anti-Hindu has become the apartheid word and Hinduphobia has been institutionalized. Mr. Jindal fights every day wonderfully for the Congress with some foolish arguments. He means to say that Hindus should change their festival calendars because there are elections around. so Mahashivratri should be postponed or preponed to some other date because there is some election going on? Does it mean to say that Mr. Modi paid Khalistani elements to deface temples in Canada, UK, Australia, etc., etc.? What kind of ridiculous arguments do people make? In
now,
Kerala,
allow me to
PF
reply
and
and tell you
SDP.
how
No,
enlightened your
wait.
views are.
Don't get provoked immediately. I'm not finished yet. You have
I'm not
provoked
provoked
Hindus
at
enough.
all, sir.
Don't,
It's
can you keep
entertainment for
quiet?
me.
I didn't speak.
Continue
Mr. Rahul,
it.
ask him to keep quiet. I
Mr.
didn't speak
Jindal,
when
that's
you were
not
making
fair.
all the
No one
insane
interfered
arguments.
when you went on your monologue. We all
He's
listened
calling
to
my
you.
names, that's why.
No,
That's why
please.
I'm-
Yeah, you can
I'm
respond to him right after. I'm not going to stop
You
you.
may be
Just
very
raise your
wise,
hand.
Mr. Lokesh Jindal. You may be very smart, but we are not fools here, okay? People
Sir,
will
you are
understand who is saying
enlightened.
what.
You are the only one who is
PF
enlightened. sir.
Again, he has started.
Okay.
PF and SDPI regularly took out green flag, Chand Sitara marches around Kerala. Was there a law and order situation? Anywhere in India, you have to seek police protection when Hindu processions happen, when Hindu festivities happen. No minority has had to ever take protection. What does it show? It shows that only Hindus have to carry the cross of being secular or being tolerant, and they have to seek protection in so-called majority Hindu state, so-called Hindu nation, to take out their processions. Just 2022, there are 36 attacks recorded and documented in which 8 people died, including one 3-year-old child. These attacks were during Shivaratri, Ramanavami, Durga Puja, Hindu New Year, Ganesh Chaturthi, then you have Diwali, Kamad Yatra, Vaishno Devi Yatra. In 14 states and 1 union territory, was it all by BJP? Was it all by RSS? Was it initiated by these people? What is the sin they did? That they were born Hindu, they wanted to celebrate.
Okay.
My dear Lokesh Jindal, we are a people who enjoy festivities, who enjoy celebrations. That is why we will remain that way. We are not a sad,
Let me tell you.
religion who doesn't like
No,
Muslims,
my
who doesn't
very
dance.
enlightened-
Last
One
point,
second,
last
Jindal
point.
Saab,
Jindal
what do you
Saab,
want?
have we
One
become
second.
second-class
Last
citizens
point.
in the land of
Last point.
Shankaracharya?
Just a moment.
Have we become
Just a
second-class
moment.
citizens in the
Just
land
a
of
moment.
Shankaracharya?
Just a moment.
Before trying to point
Just a
out what
moment.
the other person's views
Mr.
are.
Jindal, just a moment. I am not finished yet. Saffron is the color of sacrifice, India's history, tradition, culture, wisdom, and you are trying to demonize it. You call it a BJP RSS color. There's Hindu color. You
Sir,
hate
Swami
people.
Vivekananda.
You want to mix up other
Swami
colors.
Vivekananda addressed the United
And the entire
Nations
nation
viewers
gave you a befitting
dressed
reply.
in saffron garb. Now hang on, 1 second. Lokesh Jindal, 1 second. I just want you to remember this. You said that, you will disturb the peace if you hang up saffron decorations even outside. Fair enough. I want viewers now to listen to what happened in Kerala. The Way of the Cross ritual, organized on the occasion of Good Friday too, had attracted a large crowd in the northern Kerala districts. The most significant ceremony was held on the Thamarasari Ghat Road after 2 years. I'm not saying this, viewers. This is the Hindu, which Mr. Lokesh Jindal reads, because there quite often, viewers, as the Supreme Court also has said, fake documents are used to support a Congress narrative. So, Mr. Jindal, you will perhaps read the Hindu. I'll send you the copy, and now you tell me, that the Way of the Cross ritual should also be banned.
Just
Say
one
it.
submission.
See,
Say it,
the
Mr. Jindal.
moment religion comes to the street, it ceases to be a religion.
Okay,
it becomes
so should
And politicization of religion in any form.
so
Whether
should
it's any
devout
religion,
Muslims
it's wrong.
should
Muhammad
devout
should be
Muslims
banned.
offer prayers on streets outside mosques, sir? Should that be allowed?
Absolutely, I strongly protest. I object that, and I want the civil society.
Your Congress party doesn't. Your Congress party supports
So
it.
because
No, why does
on the
Congress
religious
party then
issue, I
support
would
it?
want-
I'm
I
asking you,
would
why
want the
does Congress
religious
party
community to
support
take
it?
a call on
Why
that.
should you even
I
have
would
then?
want the
No, hang on.
religious-
Why
No,
should you
because
even
see-
have loudspeakers? Excuse me. Why should you even have loudspeakers on minarets of mosques?
See, Rahul, when
No, I'm asking
talking
you this
about
question, Jindal
politicization
Saab.
of religion, it takes time.
Okay.
Jawaharlal Nehru was
Dr.
against
Dr.
any
Ranganathan is raising his
of
hand.
religion.
Temples
And
mosques
since
on the
Mr.
road.
Ratan Shraddha called out my name, let me
There are
reply to the
hundreds of
point that he
temples
put
and mosques on
forward.
the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, please.
What do you mean?
Reply.
No, let me reply what he said. Now, this particular gentleman said, India is a so-called Hindu nation and Hindu state. Can you please tell me once anywhere in the constitution where India is a Hindu nation or a Hindu state? Please answer this, sir. And secondly, when you are talking about, where is it written?
It's in the constitution of RSS.
No, didn't you say
It's not
that
in the
so-called India is a
Constitution of
Hindu
India.
nation or a Hindu state?
It's in the constitution of RSS.
Make a comment.
And
So can I please
they-
request?
No, when you are coming over here,
Hindutva
when you are
India,
claiming
Lokesh, this is not
something,
fair.
at least
They-
have constitutional
Okay,
basis.
one
to-
second.
They have no place here in India. The
Okay.
constitution which is framed by
Asif
Baba-
Sohail,
Baba-
one second.
Sansad, sir?
Asif
What
Sohail,
about
one
Dharam
second.
Sansad? Is
Okay,
it-
okay,
you support
Jindal,
Dharam Sansad?
Mr. Jindal, please now calm down. You made your point. Fair enough. Okay, Dr. Ranganathan.
No, very quickly, Mr. Jindal is free to have his views, howsoever strange or bizarre they may be, or I may find them to be, or my good friend Rate may find them to be. The fact is, I want to make just 2 points on his comments that I find extremely painful, because what he's done is, by alluding or insinuating that BJP is behind all these attacks, he's insulted the memory of the slain Hindus, including the Kashmiri Hindus who were driven out purely because of religious reasons from Kashmir in 1990, and also people like Mr. Bharat Yadav, who was lynched by a Muslim mob by saying, "You are a kafir, you deserve death." So many other instances. And while he says that these processions and the communal, the problems or riots that they cause are instigated by BJP, I want to ask him a symbol. No, please don't interrupt. Lokesh, this is Rahul. Lokesh, I don't expect this from you. Please, let's maintain some decorum, because I'm about to finish. So while I am very pained by your insulting the memories of those who've been slain because of religious reasons, I want to ask you a very simple question. You insinuate that the BJP is behind communalizing all these religious processions. I want to ask you a simple thing. Was there, according to you, yes or no, was there, according to you, a Congress hand in the 1984 anti-Sikh riots?
Look, Anand, I have immense respect for you. But when
Just
you put
answer
forth
yes or
an
no.
argument,
Let's leave the respect some other time.
when you are
Answer
coming
yes
forward
or
with
no.
1984,
Lokesh, please.
No, it is something which is there in your mind.
Was there a Congress hand?
See,
Was there a Congress
listen
hand?
to me. Absolutely not. Congress was never.
There wasn't a
in
Congress
politicization
hand.
of religion.
There wasn't a
Politicization
Congress
of
hand.
religion was something that
Rahul,
is BJP's recipe.
Have you seen how easy it
Please
is
don't
to
bring us
expose?
to that particular level.
He says the
It is
Congress did not
BJP
have a hand in
which
1984
politicizes
Sikh
upon
riots.
the issue of communalism
What can
and
be more
communalization. It is
calamitous
not
than
something
that?
that Congress embarks upon.
Lokesh,
It is
please.
Congress that made sure that
I
India
think it is-
remains a secular country, a secular nation.
if you leave
Congress
people in
promoted
doubt when
brotherhood,
you are
a
not
spirit of
speaking,
unity amongst all religions.
you remove all
Actually,
doubt when you open
Dr.
your mouth.
Ranganathan, look, on certain things, even I have given up engaging with Mr. Jindal, because he doctors the facts. Now, no Congress hand behind the anti-Sikh riots of 84. Sajjan Kumar has been convicted for the 84 riots, and I'll tell you, viewers, had there actually been no Congress hand, the Congress party would have moved with alacrity to punish. And I also want you to know, viewers, that this entire ecosystem of left liberals would have moved with alacrity over the genocide in Kashmir. Now, because they didn't, and because it suited them by Mr. Jindal's logic, it would stand to reason that the Congress and the NC and others were perhaps also complicit, because they stood to benefit.
He's insulted the Sikhs.
So can you imagine? He's insulted the Sikhs, he's insulted Hindus, he's also
isn't
now
the government
he's also
protecting
now
Kashmiri Hindus
exposed
now?
the Congress
Why are
party
Kashmiri Hindus
as being
dying?
complicit. As
Why
being
isn't
complicit
BJP
in
doing
several
anything
riots.
to protect
So
the lives of Kashmiri
viewers,
Hindus
here
now?
you have Mr. Jindal arguing a bizarre case. Nonetheless, let me move to the next. Let me move to the next. Professor Atikur Rahman. He never lets us down. He's usually the voice of sanity. So let me ask you, Professor Saab, do you admit crimes against Hindus are taking place in this country? And if you do admit, what is the reason for it?
Well, Rahul, I do not recognize any of our citizens as Hindus and Muslims. Crimes are crimes committed by people against one another. And
Wow.
we have elected the legislators to take all crimes into cognizance
Right.
and act upon severely
Right.
on the people who are committing such crimes.
Right. Just the other day, 1 second, Professor. Just the other day, you were sitting here and saying in the Delhi riots, more Hindus had been persecuted because that entire riot was Islamophobic in nature. तब तो आपको धर्म दिख रहा था. आज की डेट में आप बड़े ही सेक्युलर बन गए. इनफैक्ट यू बिकम ऑलमोस्ट फ्रेंच इन योर आउटलुक. Zabardast, Professor Saab. I told you he never lets you down, viewers. He never lets you
Thank you for that compliment, Rahul.
Okay. So if you are French,
Thank you.
If
Thank
you are
for
French,
this compliment.
if you are French,
But on a
no, one
critical
second.
day-
If you hang on. Now let's no. If it's a compliment and you think being French is a compliment, so let me then ask you, sir, if you believe in the French system of laïcité, should the hijab not be worn in public places? Because in France they don't allow you. So I want to ask you, Professor Heman, since you are so French, अब आप फ्रेंची के जैसे जवाब दीजिए.
Charlie Hebdo cartoonists also.
Yes. And therefore, yes,
No,
Charlie
I
Hebdo,
accepted.
those cartoons should be then
No, I
also
accepted, Rahul,
published.
your compliment.
हाँ, आप बताइए, Professor साहब.
Rahul, I accepted your compliment regarding you telling me that I have turned secular. I do not, I never
No,
heard
I didn't
the,
say you turned. I said
French
that
word
you
for
have
being
turned
sarcastic.
secular
No,
to
how?
the point that you have become French in your outlook. And you said, thank you. So I'm asking you, since you ascribe to a French secular sensibility, let me ask you, do you stand, therefore,
No,
and
I
back
didn't
the
heard
ban
that word
on the
French when
hijab?
you said that. Anyways.
Okay, anyway. So, Professor Saab, listen.
Anyways.
Don't be too
Anyways,
clever
yes.
by half on
Yes.
times now. I will pull out statements of yours where you have played the Muslim victim card on this channel, clearly identifying your point of view with a religion. So please don't do this. Don't be too clever. When a crime is being committed and it is obvious,
I do agree, Rahul.
call it out for what it is. Don't chicken out of it.
I do agree, Rahul. I do agree that sometimes I am compelled by your arguments to go communal. I will not hide my face towards that. But the fact of the matter is, and please allow me just 30 seconds. In a critical day when people are fighting with each other, charging each other with communal overtones, is this responsible on our part to come out with the old wounds? Or is this very much responsible on our part to tell the authorities to act severely on the people who are committing such crimes? If I
So
go
then I
by
have to ask you,
Dr.
then
Anand
Professor Saab, then I must ask you, when the Babri Masjid came down, when the Babri Masjid came down, Professor Saab, should anyone have talked about it? Because you see, it was such a hot matter. Let's not talk about it. Let's not condemn it. छोड़ दो ना, ignore कर दो. क्या फालतू में लोगों के बीच में दीवार खड़ी कर रहे हैं?
Then reconciliation.
हाँ?
Gujarat riots. Gujarat riots.
Should we not have
So
spoken?
there are
Exactly.
skeletons in all the cupboards.
Then say that.
The skeletons.
Then
should
say
be-
that
should
and
be
call
removed
them
from
by
the
their
cupboard at
names.
this critical
Call them
juncture.
by their names. One
Today,
skeleton is
and for
Hindu-phobia
what-
and call
for
it out
God-
by its name
for
and start
God's sake,
accepting the
for
facts.
what reason have we elected our legislature?
Listen, Professor Atikur Rahman, I've heard you out tonight. On 3 questions, you have dodged. And you have dodged in a scandalously evasive manner. I mean, it is
Your
absolutely
choice, your choice.
scandalous. And I said, viewers, that they will say, by raising this issue, what are you doing? You're whipping up hate.
Yeah.
Viewers, for how many years? From 2002 to 23. Oh, my maths is not my best. So 21 years, viewers, they have only spoken about the Gujarat riots. This gentleman came and praised the BBC. He was on our channel for opening wounds so that we could look at the truth. This gentleman, Professor Atikur Rahman.
Amazing. Amazing.
तब तो बीबीसी के साथ आप जम के खड़े हुए. वो क्या कर रहा है? बीबीसी की जर्नलिज्म आपको अच्छी लगती है, टाइम्स नाउ के तीखे सवाल आपको पसंद नहीं है. ये तो अजब बात है, अजब. So, Professor, tonight don't do this. And Asif Suhail bhai,
So we are
I dread
discussing
coming
the
to
matter,
you.
na?
I was scared.
So
I
we are
even
discussing
told.
the matter, na?
One second,
Rahul,
Professor. One
Rahul,
second,
I
Professor.
want-
I
Rahul,
dread
I
going
want
to
CBFC.
No, 1 second. I dread
Rahul,
going
I
to
want
Asif.
CBFC. I
Yeah.
want CBFT. I
Yeah.
want CBFC to censor you, Rahul, because even Bollywood doesn't expose so much as you have exposed tonight.
Well, sir, I can't help it. I mean, you know, these people are ridiculous.
But
Are
Rahul does not wear
ridiculous
saffron.
in their attempts to cover up. I mean, they have
Good
gone to
to see
ridiculous.
that
I mean,
both
it
of
is
you
so
are complimenting
transparent.
each other.
Anyhow, I think I should just move on to the next debate because it's an important one.
Good
Asif bhai,
compliments.
I don't even want to come to you. मैंने बोला था, I will start with Jindal bhai, then I'll go to Professor. And आपका तो मैं सुन के ही, I think I will be, I might not know how to react. So I'm passing you over, Asif Sohail bhai, tonight. I'll pass you over. Do indulge me. I beg you, because you will say that, you see, I'm somebody who is whipping up, you know, all sorts of hate. You'll sue me, you'll throw me into jail. 5 other people will then put a fatwa over me. I don't want to go the way Rashdi is, so I'm letting you go, sir, today. Thank you very much. I want to move on to another big story, viewers. This one, viewers, is a real shocker. It's a shocker because, viewers, we are talking about those. We are talking about those who defend our nation. They sacrifice their everything, viewers. Their everything to defend our motherland, to keep us safe. And viewers, when they are attacked, just because they don't belong to a particular ecosystem, or because they are at a lesser station in life compared to a neta, his sons, his aides, then, viewers, one feels it. One really feels it. And this story is about that. Jawan Prabhakaran, viewers, has been killed. He was killed by a DMK politician, a councillor named Chinnaswamy, and 9 of his associates. Why? Because his family was washing clothes near a water tank in Tamil Nadu's Krishnagiri. Now, viewers, if our armed forces can't have the first claim on our resources, who will? Can you believe it, viewers? Murdered this man, this brave son of India, who's ready to sacrifice his everything. These VIPs grudged him from washing his clothes, his family, their clothes near a water tank. These netas, viewers, they think they have a monopoly over everything. I want to open this up. General Bakshi, I want to ask you tonight, what is going through your mind? I mean, your soul must be shaken. Can you imagine, viewers, tomorrow people saying to General Bakshi, aisa hai, stop taking planes. Take a bullock cart. You don't deserve. Give those seats up for all the VIPs. How would you feel, General Bakshi?
Rahul, I feel outraged. The soldiers of this country who proudly wear the uniform, who serve from the Siachen Glacier to Kargil to Ladakh, to every place upon our borders where there is a threat, who ensure that you and I go to sleep in peace and security. This is the way they are treated. You know, the fact of the matter is that in some states, I'm finding that some political, aparata chicks at the state level, they have delusions of grandeur. They think they are some kind of exalted citizens. They can murder any citizen they like. And there were people who wanted to molest women, throw them from the 13th floor, because they were ruling satraps in that state.
Yeah.
They could kill anybody they felt like. Now here is a soldier. He's gone home on leave to spend some time, precious time with his family. 12 months in a year, he gets 2 months to come home. He is washing clothes and you kill him for a miserable reason like that. It is amazing.
Yeah.
What are we coming down to?
No. This is VIP arrogance on steroids, viewers. And I'm not trying to in any way trivialize this, but I don't have any words. I don't know what to say. I mean, look at this sense of entitlement. Hassan Maulana of the Congress is here with us. He's a member of the Legislative Assembly of his state. he supports the DMK. And I want to ask you, Hassan Maulana Sahab, it's a very important question.
Yeah.
Rahul Gandhi, you know, he said, there is a word he used for love in Hindi, I've forgotten it. This is Rajniti of the Muhabbat ki dukaan mein chala raha hu. This is what he said, Hassan Maulana Sahab. Muhabbat, you know Muhabbat? Okay. Muhabbat ki dukaan means the establishment. I run an establishment of love. And you are supporting this. He has not tweeted this. Had this happened in a BJP ruled state, you would have been leading processions to the house of Prabhakarji. Silence.
Oh, you people have totally misgot the whole situation.
Oh, so the man is not dead.
This happened in a place where it is a fight between two houses. One man is a military man, another man is a councillor. That's all.
So you're entitled to
and
kill
his
somebody.
son is a policeman.
So you're entitled to kill.
Up a fight. No, they picked up a fight and both sides whacked each other. Where one person was brutally hurt and
No, sir. 9 associates.
The way you are saying
no, 1
that,
second.
there is a
Chinna
Jawan
Swami and 9. Are you
9
trying
of
to tell
them
me?
against
Excuse
one.
me, sir. I have got what the police has said, okay? Now don't try to today shift the goalpost. Forget about that.
Rahul,
I'm asking you a simple question. Hassan Maulana.
Tell me.
My God. Hassan Maulana, please.
Yeah, tell me please. Yeah, Rahul.
Listen to the wife of the deceased, viewers. I want you to listen to her. And she will tell you the whole story. And also the wife of Prabhu's brother who was beaten. The brother was also beaten, viewers. Now you can think about it. 10 people descend upon 2. And these guys are trying to make it out of some kind of reprisal attack. Can you believe it, viewers? I mean, they're shameless. Listen to this.
என்ன நடந்துச்சுன்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா நம்ம ஒளிபரப்பு ரொம்ப உதவிகரமா இருக்கும்.
ஐயோ நான் வார்டு மெம்பர் கவுன்சிலர் நான் எதுவுமே பண்ணலன்னா ஊர்ல திருவிழான தெருப்பை பணத்துக்கு துவைக்க தானே போனாரு. அது எங்க வீட்டுக்காரர் தானே போனாரு. எங்க வீட்டுக்காரர் மட்டும் துவைக்கலன்னா அவங்க மருமக ஊர்ல இருக்கிறவங்க எல்லாம் துவைச்சாங்கண்ணா. எல்லாரும் துவைச்சாததுக்கு யாரையும் கேட்காம எங்க வீட்டுக்கார மட்டும் செருப்பு எடுத்து காட்டினாருண்ணா. அப்படி மிலிட்டரிக்காரனா என்னடா பிடுங்க செருப்புல அடிப்பேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு செருப்பு எடுத்து காட்டினாருண்ணா. அப்பயே பேசி ஏதோ சண்டை அடிச்சிருக்குண்ணா. அது கூட நான் இல்ல காலேஜ் போயிட்டேன்னா வந்து இன்னைக்கு ஊர்ல திருவிழா எல்லாரும் துணியெல்லாம் தைக்கிறேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொன்னாங்கண்ணா. வீட்டுக்குள்ள வீடு சொன்னா கிளீன் பண்ணிட்டு உக்காந்துட்டு இருந்தோம். வீதியில போனவர் எங்க மாமனார் ரோட்ல நின்னதுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அடிச்சுட்டாருண்ணா. அடிக்கடிக்கு அவங்க பையன் கத்தி எடுத்துன்னு வந்தோடனே வெட்டிட்டாருண்ணா. வெட்டினோடனே எங்க மாமனார் மயக்கம் போட்டதுக்கு அப்புறம் தானே எங்க மச்சினது எங்க வீட்டுக்காரது தடுக்க தானா வந்தாங்க. தடுக்க வந்தவங்கள ராட்ல கத்தில வெட்டிட்டாங்கண்ணா. வெட்டி செத்தே போயிட்டாருண்ணா இன்னைக்கு.
இது வந்து வீடு புகுந்து அவங்க தாக்குனாங்களா?
ஐயோ எங்க வீட்டானியே வந்து எங்க மாமனார் அடிச்சதுனாலதான் போனாங்க. தடுக்க போன பையனை வெட்டிட்டாங்கண்ணா. ராட்ல தகவத்து மேல அடிச்சுட்டாங்கண்ணா. அடிச்சு கொண்டுட்டாங்க. வேணுமே நீ எப்படா மிலிட்டரிக்கு போவ, நீ மிலிட்டரியா நான் போலீஸானு பாக்கலான்னு சொன்னாங்கண்ணா. இன்னைக்கு பாத்துட்டாங்கண்ணா. கவுன்சிலர் என்ன மீறினாலும் ஒன்னும் புடுங்க முடியாதுன்னு சொன்னாங்கண்ணா. இன்னைக்கு புடுங்கிட்டாங்கண்ணா. உண்மைதானா அவங்க சொன்னது? கவுன்சிலரு எதுவும் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு சொன்னாரு. எங்க வீட்டுல போச்சுன்னா எதுவும் பண்ணாம வீட்டுல சும்மா இந்த பையன் நாளைக்கு விடிஞ்சா டியூட்டிக்கு போனோம்னா டிக்கெட் புக் பண்ணி கட்டிங் அடிச்சு குளிச்சுட்டானே, துணி எடுத்து வேணின்னு சொன்னானே. இதா வந்து எடுத்து வைக்கிறேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு போனே. வரத்துக்குள்ள கொண்டுட்டாங்கண்ணா.
அவரும் ஆர்மி, உங்க ஹஸ்பண்டும் ஆர்மிங்களா?
ஆமாண்ணா, 2 பேருமே ஆர்மி தான்ண்ணா.
Now, the clash, viewers, began, the trigger for it, and all media has put this out, was a dispute over the water tank and who should wash clothes there. Dr. Ranganathan, that became a massive point of contention, so much so that the power-drunk councillor and his family thought that they had the first claim over the water tank.
Rahul, this incident, Rahul, is so shocking. It is beyond outrage. But let me tell you this. If instead of the DMK councillor, it was a distant cousin of a BJP booth worker, by now New York Times and Washington Post would have written reams on how this is the death of democracy in a fascist Hindutva state. But this is the privilege that non-BJP governments and leaders enjoy all through, and we've seen this. I'm talking of Mr. Stalin, who is the chief minister. He publicly and with pomp and ceremony, he felicitated the convicted killer of Rajiv Gandhi. There was no outrage. People praised him. I'm talking of Mamata Banerjee. And you remember Professor Mahapatra, who once passed a cartoon belittling Mamata Banerjee, a cartoon. He was arrested and he was acquitted after 11 years. But there is no death of democracy. There is no fascism there, because everything is in the kitty of Modi and Modi alone. This is why I say that this kind of selectivity is going to be not only the death of democracy, it is going to be the death of media as well.
Dr. Raman, where's the outrage here? Why isn't anyone questioning the dispensation? I mean, this is VIP racism, isn't it? Or would you also now sort of say that, no, let's not make it out into being such a big deal, right?
No. First of all, there is no question of saying don't make it a big deal. A murder has happened. It has to be investigated and the culprits have to be brought to book. The issue here, Rahul, is that unfortunately, such incidents have become commonplace. Of course, in Tamil Nadu, yes, and in other states as well. So I think that there are two issues here. One, as Mr. Hassan Maulana said, this seems to have been a dispute between the two families, and which of course cannot justify the action that was taken and the murder that actually happened. But the point, if you go into what the lady was saying, the councillor actually is on record to have said that nothing can be done to me. Now it is for the state government to prove that the law will take its own course and the police to act. The last, I do not know if this Chinnasamy has yet been taken into custody, but the fact remains that the state government is now under pressure and they will have to ensure that justice is done to this family. It's completely unacceptable to just say that a councillor can say that he is above the law. It is a test for Mr. Stalin. Let us see if he lives up to the charges.
Reasonable.
To the expectations.
Dr. Raman can always be counted upon
incidents.
for
but
being
such
so
incidents
reasonable.
Are happening every other day.
Every other day, but they don't take on the kind of monumentality as they do in BJP ruled states. Had this happened in Yogi Sarkar?
Oh, by the way, Rahul.
One second,
Rahul, you will not see anything on this in Tamil media. It's the same. The BJP playbook at the national media level is replicated by the DMK playbook in Tamil Nadu. On local
Raman,
media,
let me ask you
won't see any news of this being highlighted.
Dr. Raman, let me ask you. A few months ago, you were on my show. You might remember this. There was a bridge collapse in Morbi. Do you remember that bridge collapse? Which state government did that?
Yeah, I do. Fact that the
so times now. Hang on, viewers. Now you see, now the cat is out of the bag. Now hang on, viewers.
Even
1 second.
Now the promoter
now look at 1 second.
Custody.
Doctor, please see my tweets also. Go over them. I have asked for exemplary action against everybody. We did a campaign for 3 weeks. Nonetheless, you will not choose to see it, but you've today made a massive.
Nothing has been done.
Okay, doctor. Yes, of course, nothing has been done. The court has stepped in, and hopefully this guy will be arrested. It's a campaign. Dr. Raman, I want to say something. You have today let the cat out of the bag in a massive way.
When?
You are today. 1 second. That's fine. You have today said that the Tamil media will not pick this up. What does that tell us, Dr. Ranganathan, about the state of affairs in Tamil Nadu today? He's saying it. I'm not saying it.
It tells us that Tamil Nadu is basking in full-fledged democracy while the rest of India is suffering fascism.
Sorry, you were saying, Dr. Ranganathan, I couldn't hear you because Dr. Raman interrupted.
I'm saying, you asked me what does it tell us about Tamil Nadu. I say it tells us that Tamil Nadu is basking in the glory of democracy while the rest of India is in the talons of fascism.
Okay, so let me ask Hassan Maulana Saab. Dr. Raman says that this kind of anti-government story will not be played in Tamil media. Sir, what are you doing to the media in Tamil Nadu? You are in government. Explain. Hassan Maulana Saab, please answer Dr. Raman.
There are eventually every matter comes out in the media. And this issue has
Dr. Raman, do you agree with him? Every matter comes out.
This issue,
especially those stories which are anti, which are anti the Stalin government.
You must understand, Rahul.
Which we weren't even aware of. It has not taken any
Tamil
headlines.
Nadu, the Congress party in Tamil Nadu is basically a branch of the DMK. Most of them are so desperate trying to retain their seats as MLAs or MPs that they will toe whatever the DMK line is, they will toe it. In fact, some of their members did not even condemn the incident where the Chief Minister met and hugged the assassin of Rajiv Gandhi. Can you believe it? So I think that you cannot even,
every congressman condemned this. And you should also hear one
branch office.
That
Mr. Maulana, please.
This legal course.
Mr. Maulana, you know about
Please ask your legislature party leader. Please ask your legislature party leader. Legislature party leader.
In the jail, and Madam Priyanka Gandhi told, we are ready to forgive these culprits. That is what the biggest heart the Gandhi family has, which eventually India doesn't have.
What about the 15 others who died? What about the 15 others who died? Who is Sonia Gandhi?
Take the law in action. The law is decided. What are we to do with it? How can you say the biggest law that it is a mistake, whatever they have decided? It is a judgment by the law. How can we fight against the law?
The release of the killers of your leader.
Nobody welcomes the killers of the leader. Nobody welcomes it. Everybody has the sadness in the heart that these killers were left out easily.
So I just want to say, you,
the way people react is as if, like, this is actually between two families.
Okay.
Some author comes in and says that
Hassan Maulana,
BJP does it in this spaces.
Hassan Maulana, remember.
It is not about BJP, DMK or anything.
Okay. Hassan Maulana Saab. Hassan Maulana Saab, remember.
Two families fight issue into a.
Remember, you are on the defensive not because of me, but because of Dr. Sumansi Raman tonight. So just remember that, internalize that. Now hang on.
You should talk about that.
Okay. Hassan Maulana Saab, remember, you are on the defensive tonight, not on account of me, but because of Dr. Sumansi Raman. Remember that. And this is the same political party that Dr. Raman says is part of the larger enterprise of constricting the media in Tamil Nadu, which is the same political party that goes after the Modi government for serving the BBC. Dr. Ranganathan wants to show us something. Yes.
No, I just want to say, ask Mr. Hassan Maulana. Mr. Maulana, please allow others to say this. Please. Let's have a decent conversation.
Yeah.
Rahul, Ranganathan is not even talking about that. He's simply telling that BJP.
Mr. Maulana, please, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Dr. Ranganathan, we've lowered his fader because he will not.
Yes, I wanted a very simple answer from Mr. Maulana because he is talking about DMK. I'm talking about a Congress, his compatriot, Nilai Kannan. Does he condemn his statement that lamenting why Modi and Shah have not been killed yet? Do you condemn it, Mr. Maulana?
Of course.
I didn't get you. Come again?
It's okay. I've run out of time. We can keep viewers doing this the whole evening. This is hypocrisy writ large. Dr. Raman says that people will not even ask questions on the back of this death, this murder, because the media there is so constricted. And this is happening in a Congress alliance state, viewers. And this is the same Congress that stands every day at the national stage and accuses Modi and the BJP and others of throttling the media and freedom of expression. Think about it. I leave it at that.
हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं मोहुल, who is founder and CEO of Matter. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Mohul, we've already seen this bike. I still don't know what you guys going to call it right now, but hopefully, we're going to know about it in a couple of months, I believe, and more details that we already know about specifications and what you are offering with this bike. But उसके अलावा कुछ और चीज़ें हैं जिनकी डिटेल्स अभी आनी बाकी हैं. So इस बाइक को लेकर थोड़ा टाइमलाइन, इफ यू कैन एक्सप्लेन किस तरह का टाइमलाइन रहने वाला है एंड कब इसका ऑफिशियली लॉन्च आप करने वाले हैं.
Definitely. So first thing is at the Auto Expo we have also showcased the 6 kilowatt version of the bike. So at launch we had a 5 kilowatt version. Now we also have a 6 kilowatt version of the bike. And in terms of timeline, in the next 30 days we will be giving out the spec variants and pricing to the larger market. We will be opening up bookings for the Matter motorbike this quarter, and deliveries summer में शुरू हो जाने वाली है.
So एक चीज़ जो बहुत ही टेक्नोलॉजी का हूँ इंटरेस्टिंग है इस बाइक के बारे में, इसमें गियर है.
Yep.
इलेक्ट्रिक बाइक होने के साथ साथ इसमें वो आइस वाला आपने एसेंस और बहुत बड़ा एसेंस इसमें बचा के रखा है. सो वो कैसे आपने उस पर काम किया है एंड हाउ डिड यू थॉट अबाउट दिस कि ये अगर हम इसमें इंक्लूड कर पाते हैं गियर शिफ्ट वाला पैटर्न, सो वो कैसे स्टार्ट हुआ?
So when we in 2019 when we were starting out, we spoke to a lot of consumers. Electric bike क्यों नहीं खरीदते? In 2019 there were only a handful of players who were giving motorcycles as a product, and what we realized is that motorcycling is emotion driven. You name your bike, you work with it, you control it, you become one with your bike, and from there the common theme came, control नहीं मिल रहा, feel नहीं आ रही. And obviously once we started translating कि हमें क्या सुनाई दे रहा है और कस्टमर को क्या चाहिए, and we've spoken to over 500 customers on this.
Show tonight, viewers.
Another Shraddha-like murder shocks New Delhi. Accused Sahil Gehlot arrested in Delhi for allegedly killing 22-year-old Nikki and keeping her body inside a fridge at his dhaba in Najafgarh. Ahead of the Mahashivratri, clashes erupted between two groups over the installation of the Toran Gate in Jharkhand's Palamu. Some police personnel also sustained injuries. Section 144 has been imposed in the area. An advertisement of the Assam government's tourism department is at the center of a brewing controversy as the ad claims the 6th Jyotirlinga is in Assam. Maharashtra's opposition leaders objected and denounced this, calling it an attempt to steal Maharashtra's cultural heritage.
आ चुका है पोको X5 Pro का बॉक्स टेबल पे. अब इसको जल्दी से करेंगे अनबॉक्स. ब्लैक और येलो कलर का ये बॉक्स है जो ज्यादातर पोको के स्मार्टफोन पे आपको येलो कलर जो इसका सिग्नेचर कलर है वो दिखाई देगा. Sometimes it is really tricky to take the tapes off, so let me try it with my nails. One tape down successfully. गाइज ये जो फीलिंग है ना अनबॉक्स करने वाली, ये काफी ही मजेदार लगती है. जब भी आप कोई नया गैजेट अनबॉक्स करते हैं तो मजा तो आता है. जैसे कि यहाँ देखेंगे बॉक्स के पीछे की तरफ बहुत सारे डिटेल्स लिखे हैं, बॉक्स के बारे में फीचर्स लिखे हैं, वो दिखाएंगे और उसके बारे में बात करेंगे जब फोन हाथ में आ जाएगा. इनसाइड द बॉक्स यू गेट दिस लिटिल पेपर बॉक्स एज वेल, जिसमें ज्यादातर पेपर वर्क और प्रोटेक्टिव केस ही होता है. लाइक आई सेड वही मिला है हमको. यहाँ पर एक छोटा सा मैनुअल टाइप है. यहाँ पर फोन पे को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आपको मिलता है ट्रांसपेरेंट प्रोटेक्टिव केस और साथ में सिम इजेक्टर टूल विच इज वेरी बेसिक. अब मुझे बॉक्स के अंदर दिखाई दे रहा है हमारा डिवाइस जिसके बारे में ये वीडियो बना रहे हैं. उफ, वेरी वाइब्रेंट एंड पेपी येलो कलर. Just like the box, the smartphone also boasts the combination of black or call it dark grey along with yellow. और कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग डिजाइन आपको फ्रेम्स पर भी दिखेगा. जो कलर आपको यहाँ कैमरा मॉड्यूल पर दिख रहा है, पीछे ये जो पैच पर दिख रहा है, वही आपको उसी कलर का फ्रेम दिखाई देगा. with yellow accent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The media is one of the four pillars of our democracy. In order to be taken seriously, it must be above reproach. It should beat to a higher moral drum. If the media is betraying the public interest by, for example, allegedly cheating the state of taxes, then it should be brought to book. That is what one would believe, because just because you're the media, should you be exempt from the laws of the land, including tax laws? This, in short, is the defense that is being put out by the government for justifying the prolonged survey of British broadcasting company BBC. But ladies and gentlemen, for the second consecutive day, taxmen continue to do their survey at the BBC offices both in Delhi and Mumbai. A dozen income tax sleuths are still camping at the Mumbai office, while in New Delhi the grilling of few employees is still underway. The focus of the surveys on BBC is to look into manipulation of prices for unauthorized benefits, including tax advantages. Sources have told Times Now that the financial transactions since 2012 are under the scanner. The Income Tax Department has stated to our reporters that the pattern of three keywords, namely shell company, fund transfer and transfer of money abroad, found on the analyzed laptops and computers could lead to blowing the lid of some tax evasion that could have taken place, but they're still taking a full look at what this issue could lead on to. But even before the income tax sleuths get to a conclusion, the ecosystem has seen a pattern behind the survey that is being carried out. It says that the media company is being punished for taking up the cudgels to air the truth about Prime Minister Modi's alleged role of 2002 Gujarat riots, even after the Supreme Court verdict on the same. Listen in to the opposition voices.
Well, when it suited BJP during emergency, their leaders used to praise BBC. And in fact, now the leaders have quoted in his book that he used to listen to BBC radio while in jail in emergency.
It is not only affecting the freedom of press. There will be no media in this country. Media is already controlled by them. I'm sorry to say, media cannot raise their voice.
देखिए, तो मैं तो कह रही हूँ कि G20 का एक तरफ से G20 का वो जो है वो उसकी बार बार बात करते हैं, विश्व गुरु की बात करते हैं, दूसरी तरफ से आप BBC जैसी जो क्रेडिबल एजेंसी है, न्यूज एजेंसी है, उस पर छापा मारते हो।
तो जो संस्था विज्ञापनों पर निर्भर नहीं है, जिस संस्था का प्रॉफिट और लॉस का टेम्पलेट नहीं है, उस पे भारत के इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट की क्या ज्यूरिसडिक्शन बनती है, यह कोई मुझे समझा दे, मोदी जी को समझा दे।
यूएसए का प्रत्येक नागरिक जानता है कि गुजरात में नरसंहार के जिम्मेदार कौन है। इसमें नई बात क्या है? तीसरा, दुनिया में जो हमारा इंटरनेशनल फ्रीडम प्रेस का जो इंडेक्स है, मोदी रिजीम के बाद वो एक थर्ड क्लास लेवल पे आ चुका है।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me decode how a narrative has always been built whenever the so-called crusaders of free press come on the radar of the government. When the ED started its probe against Amnesty India in 2022, the Human Rights Watch group stated that Indian officials are targeting a certain group which is doing yeoman service in India. When the homes of editors belonging to The Wire were raided, Committee to Protect Journalists stated that It has told officials to stop harassment of journalists, while the BBC gave a headline saying that FIR was filed against Wire on a complaint by Amit Malviya, the IT cell chief of the BJP. But we all know that the same publication had to retract that story for printing fake news. The same ecosystem is terming the tax raids on the freedom of press and linking the documentary released by the BBC on Prime Minister Modi, the reason behind the survey. The Committee to Protect Journalists once again has raised the war cry that journalists are being harassed in this country. Vice President Jagdish Dhankar recently warned of a targeted attack by forces to undermine India's growth story. Is there truth in what he had to warn this country about? Listen in.
India is on the rise. Sinister designs are there to set afloat a narrative by free fall of information. We have to be alert. This is another way of invasion. We have to boldly neutralize it. We have to instill in us a spirit of nationalism. We cannot allow free fall of doctored narratives to run down our growth story.
The government has clearly delinked the survey at the BBC offices and the timing of the documentary. It has raised the question on why people were still silent when the same BBC faced scrutiny in UK in 2018. Listen in to the INB official Kanchan Gupta.
3 quick points. 1, this has no bearing at all with what BBC writes, reports, or puts out. 2, BBC faces similar charges, allegations, and proven charges in the UK, its home country. 3, if the government wanted to be vindictive, if we wanted to be vindictive, and if we wanted to go after the BBC or any other news outlet for writing against the Prime Minister or the government, we would have done it at any point of time. And especially the BBC, it could have been targeted anytime after 2014.
So that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Whose narrative is sullying the survey? That's the question and the debate. Hashtag BBC searched. The debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Shazia Ilmi, spokesperson of the BJP, Suhail Seth, columnist, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow of the IPCS, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress, Riju Datta, spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress, Majid Haidri, political analyst. But it is to Mr. Riju Datta that my question goes first. Riju Datta ji, democracy is dead. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, all dead. Because questions have been asked on tax laws and who's following the tax laws of the country. I just want to ask you, are media companies exempt from paying taxes?
Navika ji, media companies are not above the law. The law should take its own course. But the current affairs in the country reminds me of a quote by Idi Amin, the former president and dictator of Uganda, that in my country there is freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee your freedom after you give your speech. The Prime Minister at one point of time said BBC was the most credible organization. And now, once the documentary came out, where he was asked, if in 2002, if you could have done anything better, he said, I did not control the media better. It is there in the documentary. And now, yes, everybody knows the media is controlled by the BJP and the critics have been silenced in this country. But these kind of, cheap tactics, revenge politics and vendetta politics to, send IT, ED, CBI and all these central organizations against anybody who raises questions against the Prime Minister or the current central disposition is the lowest of the low. This is very unfair, this is very biased, and if this continues, the fourth pillar of constitution in this country will not only crumble, will fall eventually to the ground. And I think this should not happen. And as the Prime Minister of 140 crore people, as the Vishwaguru, he should not be so chui-mui and he should take criticism on the face.
All right. So you're saying that even the West Bengal government will not file any FIRs against journalists in the future. Are you saying that, sir?
At least, madam, unlike UP, journalists are not stripped here for writing a political story against the ruling party or the ruling MLA.
Okay.
Journalists are safe in Calcutta, in West Bengal.
FIRs notwithstanding.
What is FIRs for companies like you?
Okay, all right. What is FIR for companies like you? So we don't need protection, but BBC does. So he'll say, BBC, which is being questioned in UK for tax evasion, has paid a fine of £8.3 million and is still negotiating some of the other tax claims that have been made. There is no bias in UK against the BBC, but if India asks them to pay taxes or looks at even looks at tax avoidance charges, then India is biased. How do you respond to that, Suhail Seth?
There's a state in the east of India where a professor from a university was picked up because of a post in which he allegedly made or cast aspersions on a very demure chief minister. And it took him 2 or 3 years to actually get rid of that case. But we won't mention the state in eastern India or that demure chief minister. Number one. Number two, BBC is not above the law, nor is Times of India, nor is Riju, nor is Shazia, nor is anyone else. If the law has been broken, the law needs to take its course. I said many months ago on your program, Navika, with my good friend Riju in attendance as always, that when Partho Chatterjee was arrested because they found crores and crores of rupees, the ED obviously didn't plant those crores in order to arrest him. The man was a crook, he got arrested. Mamata Banerjee later, rightly so, washed her hands off him. So the point I'm making is, don't jump to conclusions. There is only one issue here, Navika, and that issue is, which I've always said about this government, with due apologies to my good friend Shazia, who is also present this evening. This government has a knack of doing good, but getting messed over because of its inability to communicate. The tragedy with this government is that it makes so many errors in its outreach in terms of communication. Now, here's the case. This is what the situation is. Number one, it is not a raid. It is a survey. In a survey, people actually respond. The income tax department conducts a survey if you do not respond to their queries, which are again given under the purview of the Income Tax Act. Number one. Number two, I totally agree with some people in the opposition. Everyone will say the timing is suspect. Could this not have been done earlier? I don't know. Is the timing suspect? Now you are playing into the hands of people saying, "Bhai, abhi documentary hui, ab raid ho rahi hai," because they don't understand the difference between a raid and a survey. Number three, this holier than thou attitude of some people in politics is very distressing. My good friend who represents the Congress will now want to forget what happened on June 25, 1975. And what thereafter, what happened. There were many of these editors today who are so-called the left liberal ideologues of society who actually went to prison, as did people like Arun Jaitley, as did people like Virender Kapoor, another formidable journalist. So point I'm making is, there are three issues here. Shall we allow any media organization, be it the Times Group, be it BBC, be it NDTV, be it CNN, allowed to get away because they're the media? The answer is no. You can be a pillar of democracy, but you can't be a pillar with termites in it, which you will hide, but we cannot, remove. The second is the government must come out with some level of clarity through the income tax department as to what the issues were. The reason why I'm saying this, Navika, is because from this morning, and will continue for the next 1 week, India will be seen as an intolerant country towards or qua the freedom of the press. These people will make a tax evasion into a fight for the freedom of the press, which, by the way, is another misnomer, but it's going to happen. The third is we need to have, as we are having this evening, and I'm delighted that not one of my co-panelists has interrupted me, we need to have a civilized debate on how democracies are going to be run when one of the pillars behaves, either goes rogue or behaves in a manner that is not in consonance with the law. These are my limited points. I have no issues. All politicians choose to retaliate in some form or the other. If this is a retaliation, it is a retaliation within the purview of the law. Do what you want. Finally, we have a judiciary in place. As when I last checked, there were three people, one woman and two gentlemen, who had filed a PIL in the Supreme Court qua the BBC thing. Let's wait for that verdict. It's a very simple thing. You know, now to throw the baby with the bathwater, accuse Narendra Modi, accuse India, tarnish everyone, that's ridiculous.
Well, so let me ask Shazia Ilmi. Shazia Ilmi, is there a problem with the communication of the government?
Thank you.
Is a problem with the communication of the government? Is there a problem with the perception that the government, comes after those who say anything against them? And that really is a perception the opposition is playing on. And that's what politics is all about. So why is the BJP, why is the government crying foul? Because they'll grab their opportunities whenever they get them, and you give them plenty.
Navika, to be fair, we have braved it umpteen times. This is all the other ecosystem seems to rely upon. Because, whether it's Pegasus or Rafale or forbidden stories or, our own left liberal ideologues, as my friend Suhail calls them, the bleeding hearts, they seem to have a problem only with this particular government. I, for instance, want to raise this point and tell you, just not so far away, I mean, let's not even go to the emergency era, but let's just look at what happened just barely a decade back or even less, is when during the Anna Hazare Andolan, some of us were thrown in, beaten up. An octogenarian was thrown in because he was calling out UPA 2's corruption. We know what happened to Baba Ramdev and his Andolan. And not just that, I mean, going further, as far as BBC is concerned, they seem to denigrate the competence and authority of the Supreme Court. And I refuse to be, have to apologize for what the Income Tax Department is doing. Because, I mean, you indulge in corruption, TMC, and there would be ED after you. You try to evade taxes and be non-compliant, BBC, News Laundry, even Z, because even Z has been raided and it's not known to be a totally anti-BJP channel. So you will face the law. So that's it. And I think when your attitude is so clear that there is indeed non-compliance and there is indeed evasion and there is indeed something fraudulent that needs to cover up and there are no answers being given to the notices that have been sent, a process that began in UPA 2, well, people will, authorities would do their job. So, and my advice to the TMC person would be, journalists there are scurrying for cover, for fear of being called out. So it's very rich when you talk about, how intolerant and fascist, which have become like really empty words now, without any meaning and hollow, because people also know that, you cry foul only because whether it's the ED or the IT, they're acting in accordance with the law, and their notices have been given earlier. And mostly, I mean, BBC, I mean, why would be so taken in and be such brown sahibs when it comes to BBC? I mean, who cares? Nobody
No,
spoke
if you don't care, then maybe these searches or surveys could have been done in December. Why are they being done in February is a question many will ask. Communication, timing, all of these questions will be asked, and these are valid questions, Shazia Ilmi. But what is also a valid question, Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary?
But the timing is never correct. But this is not the first time that BBC has been critical. It seems that every story of BBC, if you were to look at 99%, there's something wrong and evil that Modi government is doing. So there's more of the same. And as for the opposition, this is all they do. I mean, since 8 years, I have been debating this, and all of us have been here talking about just how intolerant this government is. Who would want to believe that there is no freedom of press?
Well, so let me get in Kamru Zaman Chaudhary. Let me get in Kamru Zaman Chaudhary. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, we are all sitting on a channel, prime time, 9 o'clock, and we are debating BBC. Now, if there wasn't any freedom of press, then we wouldn't be debating. You wouldn't be allowed to come on this channel. You wouldn't be allowed to say one word sideways. So what are we talking about? Freedom of speech mar gayi, democracy mar gayi, hai, tauba every time. And look at the manner in which this ecosystem works. Amnesty International is raided, hi, democracy is dead. Why? Because they haven't filed certain FCRA or whatever, those foreign remittances provisions of the law, and they have to follow the law of the land, but they haven't done it. But you do any action on them, then you're against freedom of NGOs, human rights, and everybody comes out almost as if there is some jugalbandi going on. First, Human Rights Watch will come out, and today they have come out and they've reached the G20 presidency. The G20 members should put pressure on India so that freedom of press is not, suppressed in India. I want to ask you, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, same Amnesty International, same CPJ, same Human Rights Watch, and the same Congress Party. अब फॉरेन हैंड इंदिरा गांधी के समय में था, ये फॉरेन हैंड अब भी है, कुछ बदला ही नहीं है, तो फिर आपको तो इन सब चीजों की आदत होनी चाहिए.
Navika, first and foremost, are you going to pretend that the entire exercise was all about the tax service? I doubt it. Because the entire premise that we are getting out here is a message is being conveyed to the core constituency of the ruling party that Modi and his government is trying to convey that, look, if you try to raise your voice, if you try to publish reports which are not inimical to the government and its style of politics, we will do what we are doing with the BBC. This is a grave warning to those free press people. Navika, may I say that even you are also in danger. No, if not today, tomorrow.
My friend, disclosure time. I was in danger in the UPA Sarkar with a salary of 35-40,000. I was under survey by the income tax department for 3 years. For 3 years, no. Sir.
Navika.
Now, were you sending me a message then, sir?
Navika, the difference then where you were critical of the government, then now you are in supportive of the government.
So then I was critical of the UPA government. So were you sending me a message, sir? Then are you not guilty of the same that you are objecting to today?
No, Navika, I don't want to get you into this debate, particularly when we are discussing.
It's a live and kicking example.
When we are discussing a very important issue. You know, people like you might be somewhere in corner of India, might be writing an investigative article, might be writing about a cover story, or might be writing about a piece about let's say majoritarian politics that we are witnessing, about hate politics that we are witnessing, about maybe the type of politics that Shazia Ilmi's party is doing now in India. It's a cruel message. It's a clear message that is given out to these people. Beware, otherwise what has happened to you will happen, or what has happened to the BBC will also be happening to you. So fall in line, otherwise we are there for you. Because the basic point that every Indian is asking now, when 1% of the country's GDP is in peril at the hands of Adani, when those charges that are framed against BBC are much graver are charged against Adani Group or alleged against Adani Group,
Where is the ED? Where is the CBI? Where is the Income Tax Department? Where is the FERA, FEMA? All not. Where is the MCA? What are they doing? We need to answer those questions.
Okay. All right. So let me get Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Abhijit Iyer Mitra. NewsClick has been raided.
All are there.
NewsClick has been raided. Wire has been raided. Bhaskar has been raided. Others have been raided. Message has still not gone over the last 9 years. Only after BBC is being surveyed, message will go across to everybody ke bhai hate pe likhoge, so you will meet. What is Kamru Zaman Chaudhary trying to argue?
I don't know what he's trying to argue. Why do we leave Z News out of the equation? Because apparently Z News is Godi media. It is the Godiest of Godi media as per these people. But they also had tax raids on them. Kuch hua uska? No, what were they raided for? For speaking in support of the government? Was that collusion between the Z management and government to show, no, we will also raid friendly houses? See, the fact is the ED's workforce has been increased exponentially over the last few years to detect financial crimes.
But this is not the ED, this is the income tax. ED is not even in business right now.
Exactly, it is not even, thank God it has not gone to IT. The point is they still queue each other because, as you know, there is a common set of 24 databases that all these economic offences wings look at. Now, let's look at BBC specifically. First of all, when did the BBC suddenly gain credibility? The BBC belongs to a country that has banned Russian TV and all pro-Russian anything outright. But they then claim freedom in every other country. There is, the BBC supported that entire weapons of mass destruction thing. They supported regime change in Libya, in Iraq, and Al-Qaeda. They supported Al-Qaeda in Syria. BBC is on record calling them Islamist moderates. Democratic Islamist moderates.
In fact,
so you have
they've called the Indian army as violative of human rights, but the Taliban doing a great job.
A great job. Now, all of this doesn't take away from the fact that this government is fantastically colossal at mismanaging the narrative, as Suhail said. Right. There was only one company, one media company in India that had ever been given a tax exemption, and that was PTI. In this budget, that tax exemption has been removed, and there is an 80 crore pending tax exemption dues or levies still outstanding for them. I can also tell you that everybody is also talking about a certain media group that gave out a human resources contract worth 15 crores to a certain consulting group. And that consulting group has further subcontracted it to that same media group's owner's company. Everybody knows about it. Apparently the ITED, everybody knows about it. And obviously these people will do absolutely nothing about it till that particular news group comes in the news for something negative that they've done. And that is the way this government rolls. Now, look, I can't compensate for government incompetence. So if this government's media management is this incompetent, they have to look at themselves. That doesn't take away from the case against the BBC.
That's the point.
You know,
and that's the point, Majid Haidri. When people like Mehbooba Mufti come out and say the only credible media institution. Why? Because they call Burhan Wani charismatic, so they become credible. Despite, an apology. Sorry?
Well, they
what
got
is
the map
Mehbooba
of
Mufti
Jammu and
commenting
Kashmir
on
wrong.
the press?
Well,
I mean, these are my problem, Navika, is I'm so sorry, Majid, please forgive me. Just one small interruption. These people, the muftis of the world, have lived off the fat of the land, and just not her. All these people in Jammu and Kashmir, and today they want to talk about corruption. I mean, it's like asking Fulan Devi to, be the teller in a branch. I mean, ridiculous. Sorry, Majid. I'm so sorry. Please.
Well, so Majid Haidri, she calls BBC credible and everybody else incredible. Now, is this some new, measuring system that we suddenly have with the opposition parties where credibility certificates are being granted?
Navika Sahib, it's always an honor to share dice. Suhail said, Saab, so this one is for you. In fact, this Suhail bhai aapke liye hai. कुछ तो बीबीसी कहेगी, बीबीसी का काम है कहना, छोड़ो बीबीसी की डॉक्यूमेंट्री को, हमें हिसाब दो हिंडनबर्ग रिसर्च का. I don't really know whether IT cells will ever research the Hindenburg research. But yes, with regard to BBC, it's the typical classical case of shooting down the messenger. Because our government is wanting us to be confused about the foreign media. Because when on October 2, 2019, my honorable Prime Minister writes an article, he doesn't write it for any Indian newspaper, he writes it for New York Times. But the next day when New York Times says that Mehroli houses of a particular community are being demolished by a Kejriwal government in alliance with BJP, our BJP government has a problem. We have to obey by foreign media, we have to glamorize foreign media one day, but we have to demonize the same foreign media the next day, because BJP wants every media to worship and glorify. It's something which is not good for me, I believe. So unless BJP comes up with a policy of how to deal with media and how media should be tamed, if they want media to be tamed, then there'd be a clear-cut world policy on this. But this way, they are actually not only embarrassing the nation on the international front, they are in fact putting we, the Indians, into trouble.
No, but how is the nation embarrassed, my friend? UK, US, nobody said anything. In fact, France has yesterday, on the day BBC was being surveyed and you were so upset, you know, France has had no problems with India. So what's your problem? Where does it hurt you?
My problem is with shooting the messenger. This is simple. Everybody knows shooting the messenger. This is what BBC is doing here.
No,
so this is not sending a good signal. We are
Abhijit Iyer Mitra, which messenger is being shot here?
But what messenger is the BBC exactly? Tell me, what has the BBC said that hundreds of Indian publications have not said before? उन सबको shoot किया गया है क्या? नहीं ना?
Why have you come up with a raid on them?
But it's not a raid.
But how are you connecting? Do you have any proof? See, the way this country works is innocent until proven guilty. You are drawing a correlation between a raid and a documentary.
Mobile phones, please. Mobile phones are not snatched. Media persons are not to be harassed. We are world's largest democracy. We need to set an example of being a democracy.
What democracy? What democracy? The paragons of democracy, America and this one have banned Russia TV, no? No, they banned Russia TV.
Are we not supposed to be a democracy?
No, but UK is a democracy. Riju Datta, that's the point. UK is a democracy.
What democracy?
UK is a democracy. Not one word from all of you when Russians were banned from there. Russian media was banned from UK. आपको तो दर्द नहीं हुआ. What happened to democracy in UK? What happened to BBC? Did they carry any program?
Navika ji, I can't care less about the UK. I'm a resident of India. Let me talk about India. My only pointed questions are this, and if anybody can answer, even Suhail ji can answer this. Number one, there's a survey, not a raid, there's a survey on the BBC. Why there is no survey on Adani ji? Why does the ED gets conjunctivitis every time it is somebody from BJP or the Prime Minister's friends? And the case which was mentioned that in the East state, sir, let me finish. Can I?
I'm very fond of you. I will allow you to finish till kingdom come. Bolo, Baba, bolo.
Yeah, so last two. In an East India state where one particular person was, under legal peril and he came completed all this after 2 years. His case was raised in the parliament. But you know what he said? He said that the situation is worse in BJP states. That is a slap that came out of the syllabus. And I want to ask the BJP spokies one thing. Why they always going to this whataboutery? UPA ne ye kiya, Congress ne ye kiya, to hum ye karenge. If they did, that's why they are not in power. You are in power. So how are you better than them? Now, Suhail sir, aapni hame jawab diye din.
Okay, Suhail first and then I'm coming to you, Shazia.
I will reply.
No, in fact,
I'm coming to you, Shazia. Suhail first.
I'll reply point by point. Number one, the whataboutery has been done by you. We're discussing BBC have brought in Adani. So, hammam mein sab nange hain. Remember that. Turkish bath, everyone is naked. Number two, the point, Riju, that we are making is no one is above the law. No one is sacred, nothing is sacrosanct. Because you're the BBC or because you're the Bennett Coleman Group or because you're Trinamool Congress doesn't mean that no one should touch you. As I said, in Punjabi there's a phrase, "Endu lattu lagin," which means do bulbs come out of your body? No, you're part of the legal system. Worst scenario is If you don't like to work in India and operate within Indian laws, please go home. Go to Fiji, go to Spain, go wherever the hell you want. You cannot be in this country and then say, oh, because I'm the media, I'm above the law. And let me tell you, Riju, the time has come when the media also needs to be exposed for a lot of corruption that happens at its end. The BBC has been exposed continuously in the UK. In India, they have been violating transfer pricing norms. This is part of government record. The HMRC has investigated them, not you, Her Majesty at that time.
Shraddha, the last question was to you, 30 seconds. Respond to Riju Datta.
So, Riju, I would like to just to tell you that according to the sources in this case, what BBC has been found, what is being probed or is being carried out in the survey is very clear. It's been found non-compliant under transfer pricing rules, and there has been persistent and deliberately it's been violative of transfer pricing norms, and there are stories about tax evasion and of diversion of profits. Those are serious matters. As my friend Abhijit pointed out, there are other channels too which have been raided indeed, and in fact raids have been conducted and not surveys because of irregularities found in their account books. So why shouldn't this happen here? And why should you jump to the rescue of every such
if the narrative of the opposition is being questioned, then the perception of the government and its communication will also come under attack. Both sides need to do some evaluation on this, because at the end of the day, there is a message, there is a perception, and that perception equally makes what India is all about today. And that perception is also important to manage. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. Moving on to the other big story, shocking story, ladies and gentlemen. Last year in October, 27-year-old Shraddha Walkar was butchered by her live-in partner Aftab Poonawala. Her body chopped into 35 pieces, stored in a refrigerator and then disposed of in a nearby forest. A similar horror story has been reported from the national capital, where a young girl, Nikki Yadav, was first killed by her lover, her live-in partner, on February 10th, and her body stuffed in a freezer of a dhaba in Delhi's Najafgarh. What's more appalling is that the accused then married another woman just hours after killing his live-in partner. The police probe has revealed that the accused, Sahil Gehlot, strangled Nikki Yadav in his car with a mobile cable and then drove for 35 kilometers from the crime spot to dump her body. The investigation has also revealed that the murder was not due to any sudden provocation, as Sahil had planned his marriage 6 months in advance. However, the accused has said that he killed Nikki after she fought with him over his marriage plans on February 10th. Listen in to what the police had to say.
साहिल गहलोत नाम के व्यक्ति का निक्की यादव एक महिला के साथ मित्रता थी। 2018 से दोनों एक दूसरे को जानते थे। साहिल के परिवार वालों ने उनका रिश्ता तय कर दिया था और इस 9 फरवरी की उनकी मंगनी थी। 10 फरवरी को शादी होनी थी। 9 तारीख को उनकी महिला मित्र निक्की यादव को पता चला तो उन्होंने कन्फ्रंट करने के लिए उनको बुलाया था, और रात को जब ये मिले हैं तो उस टाइम पे इनमें आपस में बहस हुई, और उसमें गुस्से में आकर साहिल ने अपनी महिला मित्र का अपने मोबाइल फ़ोन के केबल से गला घोंटकर उनका मर्डर कर दिया।
The family of Nikki Yadav is traumatized after her death and has demanded death penalty for the accused.
कब बात हुई थी आपकी? कल सुबह पता लगा हमारे को। तो अभी साहिल को गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया है। क्या उम्मीद करते हैं? मैं चाहता हूँ कि उसको सजाए मौत मिलनी चाहिए। पिछली बार घर कब आई थी? अभी एक महीना पहले घर पे आई थी वो। तो क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं, क्यों ऐसे? हमारी बेटी के साथ पूरा अन्याय हुआ है, उसको मैं चाहता हूँ कि उसको सरकार सजाए मौत दे।
One of the neighbors of the accused has also confirmed that he got married on 10th February, that is just a day after Nikki's murder. Meanwhile, the Congress has accused the centre of failing to control law and order and all the politics around it. Let's go across straight to our debate, and joining me tonight, Dr. Harsh Shetty, psychiatrist. Also joining me, Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS, Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, Abha Singh, lawyer and activist. I want to go to our psychiatrist expert tonight, Dr. Harish Shetty. Dr. Harish Shetty, another murder now reported close on the heels of Shraddha's murder case. And somehow, killing people, putting them in refrigerators just seems to be another day in the national capital. I just want to, understand, is this now becoming a trend? Is this, I'm not getting into the morality questions, but, murdering a person, dumping the body in a refrigerator and going across and marrying another woman the same day within hours of both these events. What do you think is leading to this kind of a mindset? Is this really becoming a societal trend? And what are we to make of it?
The first thing is latent psychopaths always existed in the society, but earlier they were controlled by social norms and social pressures. In an era of globalization where there is anonymity all around, where there is disconnection all around, these latent traits are visible and they are enacted. So whether is it a trend or not? Well, just like copycat suicides is scientifically proved, we need to also look at copycat murders, whether it actually happens and is actually inspired by somebody else. But the point is, one blatantly kills somebody in the most devastating manner, and there's no guilt or remorse, and one goes and gets married. So these are the people who always existed, but the point is, in this era they can carry out the crimes because anonymity emboldens them to do it. At the same time, what is very shocking is that in the past we had faith in our parents and would share bad news with our parents very early. So as of now, in this era of rapid pace, probably girls and boys don't have time to share the bad news, or the environment around her inside the family is that you cannot share this bad news in a very orthodox family where there are autocratic parents probably, and so what happens is there's isolation, there's control, there's possessiveness, and there is this mishap and this death trap.
Well, Dilip Cherian, societal pressures, anonymity, these exist in Western societies as well. What is it that we are seeing in India? Is it different from societies abroad, or is this balancing? I mean, at least in this particular case of Nikki Yadav, at least so far what the police tells us that they were known to each other from 2018. So from 2018 to 2023, nobody in their homes knew about a relationship of this kind. The girl is living and living in with this guy. A sister of the girl is living with her, from the details that have come out so far. I'm not quite getting the sense of whether it is the anonymity of the society or what is it? Can we put a finger on what is this new kind of social behavior that we are witnessing?
I think it's a marriage between the compulsions of permissiveness in the new urban India and the kind of breakdown in family connections which has already been spoken about. So this permissiveness allows especially middle class males to be in some senses far more, shall we say, active and socially they're preying, as it were, on girls, and girls are unable to either share or have the kind of strong family framework with which to, double check what's going on in their lives. So this is actually new, Navika. We need to understand that this phenomena of this kind of urbanization and middle class lack of morality is about 30 to 40 years old. And we are seeing a generation which has completely been brought up in that, coming to age, and this kind of thing, copycat or otherwise, is in a sad and pathetic sense being accepted as some kind of passing norm. I only hope that this does not embed itself in our society. And we've seen other societies globally go through this kind of phenomena at some time or the other.
Well, Abha Singh, let me ask you from a woman's perspective. Is this just about anonymity or permissiveness? Because this boy is actually marrying, somebody who his family wants him to marry. At least that's what we know from the details that have come out so far. And this marriage was fixed 6 months in advance. This girl, and they say, the police is saying that it wasn't as if there was a problem between, or he didn't know that the girl would react in this manner, Nikki would react in this manner. But he nonchalantly just kills her, dumps her in a refrigerator and goes and gets married. I mean, there has to be something absolutely cold and some connection quite cut in your mind to be able to do something as inhuman as this. How do you deal with this? And did this happen? Is it being reported now? We didn't know about this earlier. Is this a new phenomenon? Is it the cultures that are, coming face to face? On one side, a modern, morality-free society. On the other side, there are some parents who still put that pressure. Is this the face-off now between these two parts of a personality within people that is creating this?
Navika, you're very right. The culture is changing. On one side, you have the young generation in an open relationship, but there you have the parents who still want the children to marry as per their choice in their own community. You see, caste barriers have increased, but permissiveness has also increased. So this is the problem. The girl is a Yadav, boy is a Gahlot. The parents have not agreed to the marriage, but they could not stop them from living together. As a result, that is one reason. Secondly is the law. The law is faulty because you clearly say that if a boy is has a physical relationship with a girl and on the promise of false marriage or on promise of marriage, then it is rape. So then this boy is now defending himself that tomorrow I am not marrying her, she may file a rape case against me, so it is better I kill her. So there in his defense he has killed her. That is one theory which would be playing on his mind. And thirdly is the disconnect, because parents think the children are in a relationship, at least the girl's parents. Why are they having a disconnect? In Shraddha's case, the father did not know for a month. In this case also, the parents have not filed a missing complaint. They don't know where the daughter is. He says that first we were going to Himachal, then we were going to Goa. Is this the way the parents of a girl child behave? But naturally I am emboldening these rapists and murderers who are ready to kill these girls who are, as it is, physically weak. Both the girls have died at the hands of their boyfriends. So we really need to think about it.
I want to ask Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, is this a new phenomenon, or as a police officer, have you seen incidents like this happening in the past? Cold-blooded murder, dumping in a refrigerator, going ahead, getting dressed and getting into the festivities of a wedding. I mean, is this normal?
Well, certainly it's not normal, but cold-blooded murders have been taking place for time immemorial. And it's not only a unique feature for India. You remember that top athlete from South Africa who murdered shot his lover and is still on trial for the last 10 years. You see, I think there's a complete failure of our hypocritical society to accept, love marriages, to accept live-in relationships, to accept divorces, which kind of deprives our young women to share their woes even with their own parents or with their peers. And this is exactly what happens in this case. And then I come to the other side of the policing, whether we can, kind of prevent these cases. You keep the police busy with, VIP security to 100,000 things that they are not able to look at community policing, which is a very, very critical aspect. Because after all, the police is meant for the public. If you see the resident welfare societies, they don't allow live-in relationships in their flats. So these two people who are in love with each other get all kind of certificates, or they show that they are married, and that is how they stay there. As a result, their secret lives are virtually out of purview of anybody. So even a beat constable or even a neighbor doesn't even know what is happening. And lastly, the poor girl doesn't even visit the police station because she realizes that even the police, with their moral policing all up their, mind, will say, "Arey, how can we accept a complaint from her because she's actually in a live-in relationship?" So we need a lot of things to set this right. And Navika, I'm happy you brought this point today, because with these three kind of incidents which have taken place, I think we need to wake up. And almost on every front, we need to do something about it.
Well, Dilip Cherian, I want to ask you this. When Shraddha murder case was reported, it was made out to be a case where there was a communal angle as well. People from different faiths had come together, they couldn't get together, this, that and the other. Now, in this case, there is no communal angle either. Now the caste angle comes up. How many of these barriers are there, and are we really a progressive society? We become permissive at one end, on the other we haven't shed our baggage of the societal divisions that we've had for centuries. Going forward, how do we resolve these issues in our society, especially in urban India, which and with the internet, with the kind of exposure children today have and youngsters today have, to world media, films, etc. How do we sort of bring some sense of sanity between the two worlds that we see, one in our homes and one that we see on screens?
Well put, Navika. The fact is that this new urban melting pot that we are all part of is also a clash of multiple civilizations. The civilizations you named are creed and caste, but there are many more. There's urban and rural, there's middle class and upper middle class and lower class. There's all kinds of clashes that we are victims and we are all jointly passing through. Is this more in India? The answer is most definitely, because we are a multivariate society. The kinds of divisions we have, the kind of regional diversities we have, all of them play out in far greater and far more painful elements than in many other societies. Will this pass? I am optimistic enough to say that it will pass. But these are part of the maturing process. What Mr. Azad has talked about, community policing and more open norms, those are what urban centers are dying for. The kind of structures that exist actually are inimical to the creation of the next generation's, more fluid, more open kind of society. And unless this clash resolves itself, we are going to have these kinds of examples of violence, extreme violence playing out as a result of these clashes.
Well, to the psychiatrist expert, Dr. Shetty, my question is, what do we need to do as parents? Now, are there going to be different prescriptions for parents of middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class? What do we do as a society?
Absolutely. Just to go back to is it unique? Well, in the past, khap panchayats
honor killings were very known. The father would kill the daughter, or the boy's father would kill the girl. So this probably is an extension where the boy started killing the girl. Now, as far as prevention is concerned, what is very important is we use this phrase across all parents. If your child or your young boy or girl is in distress, hug them a little longer and a little stronger, so that you don't reject them, but they are available for correction and reform. That is number one. Number two, helping sharing bad news in the family, which means if the parents share bad news among themselves openly, the child would come back and say, oh, I have a boyfriend, but he's asking me all my passwords. I have a boyfriend, but he's saying, don't tell this to your mother, don't tell this to your father. These are some interventions which should be done in the family. And the third and the last thing is, well, if you start reconnecting in small numbers in mohallas, buildings, etc., you will bring down violence as well as suicide, because they can be detected much earlier. The red flags will be seen much earlier.
Well said, Dr. Shetty. Thank you to all my panelists. It's time to reconnect, not just with your children, but also with your neighbors, with people around you, because there seems to be a disconnect, and that disconnect could be creating upheavals in our society. We'll have to fix it, because there is no police that can be inside your homes to protect you from yourself. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night, be safe.
mm एक्स्ट्रा, लंबा व्हील बेस, सेकेंड रो में ज्यादा जगह। यह है कहानी BMW 3GL की। नमस्ते टाइम्स ड्राइव फैमिली, आई एम क्रांति संभव। वेलकम टू द फर्स्ट ड्राइव रिव्यू ऑफ BMW 3 सीरीज GL यानी ग्रैंड लिमोजीन, जो ऑब्वियसली रेगुलर 3 सीरीज से ज्यादा लंबी है। व्हील बेस के हिसाब से कुछ एक चेंजेस इसमें हुए हैं, तो इस वजह से ये हम वीडियो कर रहे हैं उन चेंजेस के बारे में बताने के लिए, और ये भी जानने के लिए कि जो दावा है कंपनी का सेकेंड रो में ज्यादा आराम का, ज्यादा स्पेस का, वो दावा पूरा हो पा रहा है या नहीं। सो बिफोर आई स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस कार, सबसे पहले टाइम्स ड्राइव के बारे में आपसे बात करता हूं या अपील करता हूं। अभी तक अगर आपने सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो प्लीज सब्सक्राइब कीजिए हमारे चैनल को, और सोशल मीडिया पर बाकी जो भी हैंडल्स हैं वहां पर टाइम्स ड्राइव के नाम से आप सर्च करें, उसे भी फॉलो करें। लेटेस्ट खबरें आपको मिलेंगी, और timesdrive.in है हमारा वेबसाइट। वहां पर तो लेटेस्ट खबरों के अलावा डिस्काउंट्स और जो स्पाई पिक्स हैं, आने वाली गाड़ियां हैं, उन सब के बारे में खबरें मिलेंगी। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट दिस स्टोरी। हम बात करते हैं BMW 3GL की। क्रांति संभव रिपोर्टिंग फ्रॉम द सेकंड रो ऑफ BMW 3GL। आमतौर पर ये वाला हिस्सा स्टोरी में बाद में आता है, लेकिन जब यूएसपी यही है तो फिर व्हाई नॉट स्टार्ट द स्टोरी विद दिस। और यहाँ पे सबसे पहली चीज जो मैं देख पा रहा हूँ उसमें कुछ बताने की जरूरत भी नहीं है। आई एम 6'3", बावजूद इसके लेग रूम, नी रूम आप देख सकते हैं कितनी ज्यादा मुझे यहाँ पर मिल रही है, यानी बहुत ज्यादा आरामदेह। आपको ये एक्स्ट्रा जो व्हील बेस है, एक्स्ट्रा जो इसका लेंथ है, वो आपको सेकेंड रो में देने वाला है, काफी ज्यादा एक्स्ट्रा आराम स्पेस के हिसाब से। और दूसरी चीज जो मुझे खास लग रही है, थाई सपोर्ट काफी आगे तक है, इसका बेंच जो है काफी ब्रॉड है, तो वहां पे आप लंबी दूरी पर काफी आरामदेह तरीके से जा सकते हैं। एवरेज इंडियन हाइट के लिए तो ये जगह काफी है, लेकिन ये जगह एडिक्वेट होगी, क्योंकि मेरी हाइट के लिए अगर मैं कहूँ तो यहाँ पर अगर मैं थोड़ा सा अपराइट बैठूं तो यहाँ पर ये मेरा सर टच कर रहा है, बट अगेन आई एम नॉट एवरेज इंडियन हाइट, थोड़ा सा मैं ज्यादा लंबा हूं।
हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं मोहुल, फाउंडर एंड CEO ऑफ matter. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Mohul, we've already seen this bike. I still don't know what you guys going to call it right now, but hopefully, we're going to know about it in a couple of months, I believe, and more details that we already know about specifications and what you are offering with this bike. But उसके अलावा कुछ और चीज़ें हैं जिनकी डिटेल्स अभी आनी बाकी हैं. So इस बाइक को लेकर थोड़ा टाइमलाइन, if you can explain किस तरह का टाइमलाइन रहने वाला है and कब इसका officially launch आप करने वाले हैं?
Definitely. So first thing is at the Auto Expo we have also showcased the 6 kilowatt version of the bike. So at launch we had a 5 kilowatt version. Now we also have a 6 kilowatt version of the bike. And in terms of timeline, in the next 30 days we will be giving out the spec variants and pricing to the larger market. We will be opening up bookings for the Matter motorbike this quarter.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. It's been 33 hours and counting since IT searches on offices of the BBC continue. As with yesterday, today also the searches were dubbed an attack on free speech and symptomatic of a dictatorial state. But the funny thing is that the same people who are talking about this IT survey as some kind of a witch hunt either remain oblivious to or are silent on certain facts. Facts of how the BBC has been investigated for quote-unquote industrial level tax evasion in their own country, the UK. So it's not as if it's a new or terribly Indian and dictatorial thing to happen in the first place. So let's begin by taking a look at what exactly has happened in the UK. BBC employees basically stood accused of not paying their taxes at the source. They were employees who were shown as freelancers, which the UK found was a way to evade taxes. News presenters were probed and eventually found guilty of the charges as well. And it is pretty much the same charges of tax evasion and under-invoicing for which the BBC is currently being surveyed in India. Yes, these are not charges that so far have been proven right, but have such investigations taken place elsewhere and found to be correct? Absolutely yes. What then explains that the very basic survey right at the outset has already been dubbed vendetta?
Well, when it suited BJP during emergency, their leaders used to praise BBC. And in fact, now the leaders have quoted in his book that he used to listen to BBC radio while in jail in emergency and then tell his BJP, then Jan Sangh or whatever party they belong to about what is happening in India. So now we see that these raids are happening. But I'm sure that the BBC will continue to show the truth to the people. The timing is absolutely wrong, and that is why the Press Club and the Editors Guild have issued the right statement about condemning these raids.
It is not only affecting the freedom of press. There will be no media in this country. Media is already controlled by them. I'm sorry to say, media cannot raise their voice. If they raise their voice, their management will just cut their service within 24 hours. This is their controlling power.
Because of the documentary, because
something, speech will be golden or speech will be silver. The silence is better. Whatever I am speaking, you can guess.
3 quick points. One, this has no bearing at all with what BBC writes, reports, or puts out. 2, BBC faces similar charges, allegations, and proven charges in the UK. It's home country. 3, if the government wanted to be vindictive, if we wanted to be vindictive, and if we wanted to go after the BBC or any other news outlet for writing against the Prime Minister or the government, we would have done it at any point of time. And especially the BBC, it could have been targeted anytime after 2014.
Now, the irony of this criticism becomes even more acute when one considers that a lot of these parties who today are speaking up for freedom of media haven't just gone after their own critics in the past, but in fact have clamped down on the media itself in their own state. Leave that aside. Some of these parties, like the Congress, have even criticized specifically the BBC, when they were in power. So how does their criticism square off now? And more importantly, if it is okay for the UK to follow processes and law during tax investigations, then how is it not equally legitimate in India as well?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of BJP, Riju Datta, Spokesperson of TMC, Tehseen Poonawala, Political Analyst, Dr. Naval Kishore, Spokesperson of the RJD, National Spokesperson of the RJD. But my first question is to Adit Kothari, founder member of the Indic Society. Adit, can you please start by telling us what was exactly the tax investigation against the BBC in UK, and eventually were they found guilty?
Certainly. So the BBC has been subjected to this sort of tax scrutinization in the UK for a very, very long time. Essentially, they had to shell out about 8.3 million in terms of tax liabilities in 2017, and they had to set aside a outstanding of about 12.2 million pounds in 2019 for a future tax liability. Now, these were essentially on the basis that they were using individuals as disguised employees and setting them up as contractors working through private limited companies, thereby reducing the exposure of tax. And that, in a sense, the BBC was able to evade about 14% tax contribution towards the national insurance. And this report was essentially filed by the CAG in the UK, which is the National Audit Office, and they essentially audit the public spending of institutions. And this was essentially submitted to the British Parliament. What transpired in the UK was interesting because BBC essentially moved the employee status to contractors, and therefore the contractors then could bill those services to the BBC via the limited company, not only reducing their own tax liabilities but also the tax liability of the BBC. So that's in a crux to show you that this is not unique.
If I were to really simplify it, employees were shown as contractors, so that both of them saved on taxes. If I am to understand correctly, Adit, eventually a few of these people even went to court and lost their cases. Isn't that right?
That's correct. They were some of the most prominent media presenters, and it became headlines for a good couple of years, because that battle was going on for a very long time. And this is not something new to the BBC. The BBC has been subjected to tax misappropriation for a very, very long time. And in fact, UPA regime, Tehseen will correct us when he does jump on the mic. Twice they were sent similar notices. Of course, the notices were then squashed by the Supreme Court. Okay. So let the process take place even now.
Okay, so we'll just leave the UP aside for a bit. Let's just look at sovereign countries trying to apply their law even-handedly to organizations even-handedly. I apologize, Professor Manojit Mandal. Thank you very much for joining us here from the TMC. Before I come to you, Professor Mandal, I want to ask one last question to Adit Kothari. At the time when the BBC was probed and found guilty of tax evasion, were they writing some anti-establishment stories against the government in UK, which is why the government went after them in this horrible witch hunt?
Well, the thing is, we can say that, but we all know that at this point, whatever the opposition is doing at the point, they should hire me as a strategist, because they're causing irreparable damage to their own cause by supporting a hit job by the BBC, who hired questionable journalists from The Wire, from The Caravan, from Al Jazeera. Only provides ammunition to the BJP at the end of the day. So,
Mandal, one, you have an open offer from Adit Kothari to hire him as your PR representative. And two, if the BBC was investigated and found guilty by their own country, then why should India also not apply its law? Again, I'm saying this is not about predetermining guilt. They may well come out unscathed. But if the UK can subject them to scrutiny, why shouldn't India?
It's happening only after this documentary was shown. Did it happen 1 month ago, 2 months ago? So the people are not, fool. You can't really fool people by your political rhetoric or articulate speech, homemade speech, and saying that I am an expert on everything under the sun. For God's sake, we do not need your advice at all. The fact remains that in this country, not just BBC, even in the other media, I name one particular channel, a very small channel, Calcutta, named Kolkata TV. They were hounded out for 7-8 days a year ago, and till date nothing happened. Precisely because they were not towing the line of the BJP. The only channel in Calcutta, perhaps, not really towing the line of BJP was hounded out 1 year back. The CRPF, the IT people, they were all, sitting in that particular office. Was it happening only because it is a simple tax raids? Or
I will ask that question to Sanju Verma. I will ask that question to Sanju Verma from the BBC in Delhi to Kolkata TV in Kolkata. All of them followed to a pattern. But Professor Mandal, you still haven't answered. All right. So the BBC is surveyed in India because of India a Modi question. Why was the BBC surveyed in the UK and found guilty?
No, I mean, please ask her not to laugh like that.
Please.
I
Okay.
tell you.
Okay, one at a time. Let's not get into tutu meme. Yes.
I give an example.
Why
it's
was it
about
surveyed in the
muddling
UK?
the voice of the opposition.
Sir, I'm asking about the UK.
Not just BBC.
All right. Everything that happens in India is to muzzle the opposition. But I am asking you a simple question. The UK has done the same thing. Carried out a survey and found them guilty. Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
I am not concerned with what is happening in London or UK. I am concerned with what is happening in my country, in my
sir,
state.
If you are concerned about the British Broadcasting Corporation, then you should be equally concerned about what's happening in Britain. Because you are concerned about the Broadcasting Corporation, so you might as well be concerned about the country itself.
His son was not spared for the last 2-3 years, and you are saying that this is routine raiding. You are saying this is routine raiding? Only the opposition leaders, and when the BJP leaders are taking money on TV, they are being spared. There is not a single raid on Adani's offices.
All right, let's right now restrict ourselves. Kolkata TV to BBC all follows to a pattern. Sanju Verma.
Cherubim dropping from the sky.
I refuse to speak unless this man is asked to keep quiet.
Okay, one at a time, please, sir. I'm asking you a question. Kolkata TV to BBC. Sanju Verma, answer.
Padmaja, I will answer your question, but I also have to say this. You know, the attitude of the opposition reminds me of that famous Hindi muhavra, Khisyani Dilli Khamba Noche. Point number one, do you remember a gentleman called Ambikesh Mahapatro? I've even tweeted about it today. He was arrested in 2012 for simply forwarding a cartoon, which had Mamata Banerjee in it. He lost 11 precious years of his life and became a free man only as recently as January 2023. Do you remember your Mamata Banerjee in 2016-17 changing Ram Navami into Ranga Navami, Ram Bhumi into Ranga Bhumi, So please don't sit here and lecture on free press, freedom of speech. It's the height of mendacity. Now, a very interesting point which I need to focus on is that was the survey at BBC's Mumbai and Delhi offices a retribution for the Modi question, the so-called documentary, which I believe is complete piece of trash, but be that as it may, was it a case of retribution on the part of the Modi government? The simple logic is this, and I challenge anyone to challenge my facts. The survey was conducted wide Article 132 and 133A of the Income Tax Act of 1961. These are the two sections or articles, what you will, which the income tax officials use when they have to carry out a survey, and an aggravated version is obviously called a raid. But before carrying out a survey under section 132 or 133, before carrying out a raid, the income tax department gives anywhere between a month, largely it is 2 months, before they actually enter your offices and ask for information, seize your laptops or seize your mobile phones, what you will.
Okay.
The BBC controversy hit Indian shores in and around the 22nd and 23rd of Jan 2023. But going by past convention, the manner in which surveys are done by income tax department in the last 60, 70 odd years, the fact is that the Section 142(1) notice by the Income Tax Department pertaining to tax concealment, tax evasion, income concealment must have been sent to the BBC India's office at least mid-December 2022, at least a month before the so-called BBC documentary hit Indian shores.
Are you absolutely confirming the fact that in December 2022 this notice was sent to the BBC?
Yes, I am saying exactly that. Section 142(1) notice has to go from the income tax authorities.
Okay.
Without a section
so, Tehsil
142(1)
Poonawalla, then the
notice,
timeline doesn't add up. The timeline doesn't add up because if the documentary is what precipitated the survey, then Sanju Verma's argument is the notice before the survey was preceding the documentary.
Section 142 notice of the Income Tax Act for concealment of income.
Okay, Tehsil Poonawalla. So the order was notice, documentary, survey. Tehsil Poonawalla.
BBC knew that, they are going to be surveyed.
So, okay, let him respond, please. Let him respond.
Let her only talk.
Okay, go on, Tehsil Poonawalla. Your timeline is not adding up. Tehsil Poonawalla.
Says who? Says who? It's not adding up.
Says actually the IT department as well.
Ask them to put
where
a
they are
notice
saying that we have multiple notices which have been served on the BBC and they have persistently not complied or responded. Hence the survey was done.
So see, this 142 notice is not something that is out of the woods. It's something that is sent to a lot of people, a lot of organizations. That's fine. So if a notice is sent and if the IT has any concrete evidence that BBC has not replied, ask them to put that out in public domain. They're being clever by half. They're saying, okay, we sent a 142 notice in December, November, have what May 2002, 2003. That's not the Padmaja, I cannot.
Okay,
Padmaja, I cannot
please,
really debate. If I knew this was going to be the show, I wouldn't have come. I'm sorry, yes. Padmaja, I'll leave. No, it doesn't make sense, na Padmaja. We are respected guests. You've called us on the show. You got to moderate it, yaar. Thanks. Can I just make my points?
Yes, go on, please.
Thank you, Padmaja. Look, 142 is not the question. Thank you so much. 142 is not the question. They've sent a 142. Let the IT department put out evidence on your show exclusively that they didn't reply to it. Because when 142 comes, any chartered accountant replies to it. That's standard procedure. This is all nonsense. The fact is somebody is misleading the most honorable Prime Minister. The fact about it is nobody would have taken cognizance of that documentary, 22nd, 23rd Jan when it came out, until somebody in the Prime Minister's office or somebody trying to please the most honorable Prime Minister decided to go hammer and tongs after it and decided to ban it. That created a reaction. People started watching this documentary. Now when minds had gone away from this documentary, suddenly you've gone out and done this whole IT survey under some pretext of 142, which is a norm, which so many people get a
But
142.
going by your
so
own
many
logic,
corporations
Tehsil
and
Poonawala,
CEOs
if you
apply to
think
it.
that going
I
after the
challenge you,
BBC is
don't be
damaging the
clever by
BJP,
half.
why would they
Don't
do
be
it?
clever by half.
That they are highlighting a documentary which is damaging to their reputation.
Because
No, Padmaja, this can't.
I'll agree. I'll answer that. Because the BJP and the most honorable Prime Minister is being misled. They don't realize that you cannot ban something on the internet.
Okay,
they do
hold
not
on.
realize
First, let's
that
take
the minute
question
you
number
go
one.
after
Sanju
somebody with a hammer
Verma,
and
all of
especially
this
an
notice, etc., is all hogwash. If you have proof, put it out. Show when the notice was sent with the date. Show it. Put it out in the public domain.
You know, Padmaja, I'm not surprised anymore. I'm amused.
142,
You know, Tehsil Poonawala, please, now you shut up and listen. Stop
Okay, language,
whining
please.
and sulking. No, because you know, I'm done with the lies by this man. He comes here, he has no idea about the topic. He starts.
Can we please come to the point? Please, let's stick to the topic.
So
Go
let
on.
me come to the point. Let me come to the point. The point is this, please check. Go to the ROC website. In the ROC website, you will find out that BBC Global India Private Limited and its other subsidiaries that function in India, they were registered on the 15th of October, 1998. The last audited balance sheet of BBC, despite ROC sending them so many reminders, was dated March 2021. They had an AGM in September 2021. After that, they have not come out in the public domain with an audited balance sheet or an audited profit and loss account statement, which is enough reason for the income tax authorities to not only conduct a survey but a raid. I challenge you to tell me
question
I'm
was
wrong.
about the notice. Now let me come to point number 2. The challenge being extended to you is, what about the notices? If such notices exist and they have been given, they should be put out in the public domain. Let me bring in Dr. Naval Kishore as well. It's interesting that today people who are talking about censorship, Dr. Naval Kishore, here a statement signed by 41 Congress MPs accused the BBC of broadcasting notoriously anti-India stories and asked the government to not allow the BBC to report again from Indian soil. This is as far as the Congress is concerned. Then we also had the BBC in fact being banned during the Congress. Indira Gandhi in the early 70s expelled the BBC for 2 years from the country for broadcasting 2 documentaries, Calcutta and Phantom India. And finally, in 87, you also had the offices of the Indian Express raided, Dr. Naval Kishore. So at that time, if all of this passes for process of law, why is it considered persecution now? Dr. Naval Kishore.
देखिए पद्मजा जी, ये बहुत ही आसान तरीका है। इतिहास में जाकर वर्तमान के सारे डिक्टेटोरियल टेंडेंसी, जितने भी तानाशाही एक्ट हैं, उन सबको सही ठहराने का जो काम आपने लिया है या जो आपने एजेंडा बनाया है, वो पूरे भाजपा के गलतियों को सही ठहराने के लिए आप पूरा काम करते हैं। और वह पूरा एक तर्क ऐसा करते हैं कि बीजेपी ने जो किया वो नॉर्मल है, वो 70 सालों से होता चला आ रहा है।
बिल्कुल भी नहीं। आपसे सिंपल सवाल मेरा ये है कि अगर जो 87 में हुआ वो सही था, तो अभी जो हो रहा है वो भी सही होगा, या फिर अभी जो हो रहा है अगर वो डिक्टेटोरियल है तो 87 में भी वो डिक्टेटोरियल था, या फिर अगर जो यूके में हुआ है वो भी डिक्टेटोरियल है, जो यूके की सरकार कर रही है।
पद्मजा जी, वही बात तो मैं कह रहा हूं कि अगर आपसे 2002 दंगों की बात की जाएगी तो 1984 में चले जाएंगे, 1947 में चले जाएंगे, इतिहास में चले जाएंगे। जो अभी हो रहा है
सर, जो अभी हो रहा है, चलिए आप बीजेपी को छोड़ दीजिए, बीजेपी जो कर रही है वो टोटली डिक्टेटोरियल है। आप ये बताइए कि यूके की सरकार अपने ही चैनल के खिलाफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन अगर कर रही है, क्या वो भी डिक्टेटोरियल है या फिर वो न्याय संगत है? इज दैट लॉफुल?
नहीं, वो हो सकता है गलत हो, वो भी वो वहां के लोग बोलेंगे ना, वो भी गलत होगा अगर होगा तो। जो यहाँ पे हो रहा है, और आपने पिछले 8 साल में नहीं देखा है कि भाजपा के शासन करने का, सत्ता करने का तरीका क्या है। आपने जब ये देखा कि जो बीजेपी ने बीजेपी ने या मोदी जी ने जो किया गुजरात के समय में, और वो अगर डॉक्यूमेंट्री के स्तर पे तो उसको देखने भी नहीं दिया जाता है। आप देखने क्यों नहीं देते हैं? आपको क्यों डर लगता है कि डॉक्यूमेंट्री देखकर लोग भाजपा और देश विरोधी हो जाएंगे?
Okay.
इतना डरते क्यों हैं?
When you come up with the ban followed by the survey, then naturally it is suspicious. Sanju Verma, those are the dots that are joined.
Okay, पद्मजा जी, ये जो महाशय आरजेडी से यहाँ बैठकर बीजेपी को फ्री स्पीच पर भाषण दे रहे थे, इनके खुद के नेता लालू प्रसाद यादव, अभी आप चुप रहिए, मैंने आपको टोका नहीं, चुप हो जाइए। मैं आए पद्मजा?
एक एक करके सर, प्लीज आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन एंड आई एम कमिंग बैक टू यू नवल किशोर जी।
Your supremo Lalu Prasad Yadav was convicted in the fodder scam by the Supreme Court. Despite that, you guys keep eulogizing him as just a man next to Raja Harishchandra. इसलिए यहाँ बैठकर आपका भाषण देना तो बिल्कुल बनता नहीं है। Let me also remind you, victim card अभी आप खेलोगे, अभी तो पिक्चर बाकी है। In October 2022, your Tejaswi Yadav was called by the CBI in the land for job scam, and if found guilty, he will go behind bars. I'm saying that to you today. So get ready to play the victim card.
बदतमीजों का झुंड है भाजपा।
तैयारी करिए।
अरे भाजपा बदतमीजों का झुंड है। आपको पता है कि सारे बदतमीज भाजपा में है। उनसे पूछा जाएगा लालू यादव, अरे कौन सा जंगल राज है उत्तर प्रदेश में 2 साल तक पत्रकार को जेल में रखते हो, जेल में। आपका जवाब दिया जा चुका है, जवाब दिया। आपको हिम्मत है बोलने का, आपको हिम्मत है बोलने का कि नारी
स्टेट एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर बीइंग कॉट विथ लाइव कवरेजेस एट एन एयरपोर्ट, सो स्टॉप गिविंग।
ओके डॉक्टर नवल किशोर, लेट हिम फिनिश हिज पॉइंट। डॉक्टर नवल किशोर,
व्हाट इज दिस नॉनसेंस? इज इट ऑन द टॉपिक? कैन यू चैलेंज? आपने लालू यादव यहाँ टॉपिक में है, शिक्षा मंत्री टॉपिक में है, आप बताइए ना। बीबीसी पर डिबेट करा रहे हैं एंड शी इज गोइंग ऑन स्पीकिंग नॉनसेंस, शी इज स्पीकिंग कंटिन्यूअसली nonsense, she is speaking continuously nonsense, and you cannot dare to challenge.
I unfortunately have lost the video link with Dr. Naval Kishore as well. I'm going to give the final word to Adit Kothari. Adit Kothari, irrespective of whatever the facts may be, the general impression, given the timing, given the fact that there is already a ban, would you think that overall the messaging has come out very problematic, if not suspicious?
Padmaja, the problem is if you're going to question the timing about this particular IT survey, then you cannot not question, what essentially transpired in terms of the BBC documentary. Why did it come out in 2023 all of a sudden, after 20 odd years of the incident in Gujarat? And that also, it's not an objective report that's been published. So my essentially question to the people questioning this particular move when this, what the Modi government has gone after the BBC is are you questioning the judgment that the Supreme Court has essentially provided? The pot calling the kettle black. I mean, we had the gentleman from TMC questioning Prime Minister Modi and the BJP, etc. Have you seen their conduct in West Bengal with Professor Mahapatro and the other gentleman?
Okay.
That was essentially jailed.
Okay. Again, this is that vicious cycle where we go down into a circle of what about it. And every time you have got politics entering episodes like this, where the law is being applied or it is being used as a hammer against opponents, then the discourse gets irretrievably muddled as well. For now, of course, the government says they will come up with a statement or they will come up with a fact finding on what has been recovered from the searches. That will be under huge scrutiny. Waiting for that. For the time being, gentlemen, and Sanju Verma, thanks for joining me. Last day in October, 27-year-old Shraddha was butchered by her live-in partner Aftab Poonawala. Her body was chopped into 35 pieces, stored in a refrigerator and then disposed of in a nearby forest. A similar horror has now been reported from the national capital, where a young girl, Nikki Yadav, was first killed by her partner on the 10th of February, and then her body was stuffed in a freezer of a dhaba in Delhi's Najafgarh. But this story only went from bad to worse. This man on your screen, Sahil Gehlot, just a few hours after murdering Nikki, was seen in full wedding attire next to his bride as he tied the knot with this young woman. The police probe has now revealed that the accused strangled Nikki in his car with a mobile phone cable and then drove for 40 kilometers from the crime spot to dump her body. The investigation has also revealed that the murder was not due to any sudden provocation, as Sahil had planned his marriage months in advance, in fact 6 months in advance. However, the accused has now said that he killed Nikki after she fought with him over his marriage plans on the 10th of February. The family is now demanding capital punishment, but the gory details are now making us as a country ask, is modern day India with its modern day lifestyle unable to cope with these modern love stories?
कब बात हुई थी आपकी? कल सुबह पता लगा हमारे को। तो अभी साहिल को गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया है, क्या उम्मीद करते हैं आप? मैं चाहता हूँ कि उसको सजाए मौत मिलनी चाहिए। पिछली बार घर कब आई थी? अभी एक महीना पहले घर पे आई थी। तो क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं? क्यों ऐसे? हमारी बेटी के साथ पूरा अन्याय हुआ है, उसको मैं चाहता हूँ कि उसको सरकार सजाए मौत दे।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the show now is Dr. Jayanti Datta, criminal psychologist, Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, and Shraddha Walkar's father, Vikas Walkar. Shraddha, Vikas ji, आपको क्या ये देख करके दुख होता है, अचंभा होता है कि श्रद्धा के साथ जो हुआ उसके बाद इतने लोगों में आउटरेज हुआ, उसके बावजूद एक और ऐसी हत्या हो जाती है? क्यों हो रहा है ये?
जी हाँ, ये ऐसे क्यों हो रहा है? ये अभी शायद ये लिव इन रिलेशन पता नहीं ये समझ पा रही है नहीं है अभी आजकल की जनरेशन। तो इसके ऊपर कुछ कानून होना चाहिए, तब ये जाके कुछ कम हो पाएगा।
Modern day relationships which in modern life perhaps young couples simply aren't able to come to terms with. Dr. Jayanti Datta, do you see this as copycat crime?
No, to some extent, yes. When this happened, I had already warned, because the criminal psyche is such, it's a new modus operandi, and it's a very convenient modus operandi. You don't have to run anywhere, you kill the person, chop off the body, put them in the fridge, as simple as that. And it takes lot of time to come to the table, and by the time the justice is rendered, it's already so late, so that the scare, that fear, which would deter the perpetrator from committing this crime, this kind of heinous crime, has disappeared. Nobody is scared anymore. And as I said, criminal psyche is such, all right, this I will do. And then they find excuses, Could it be because of love jihad? Could it be because there is no parity between the caste system? It's all absolutely redundant things. I am wondering, where is that fast court? And where is that, the punishment for the perpetrator? It's not there. You are more friendly with the perpetrator than the victim. The victim has been mercilessly, heinously, in a heinous manner murdered, and you are now finding out, all right, we have to collect this, we have to collect that. Could it be because of outrage? Could it be because of the anger? It is really, I think it's a shameful thing.
Okay, you're looking at the loopholes in the law, but frankly, at least in this case, almost immediately the body was recovered, it was done. It was the accused who led the police to the body, so they feel they have a more watertight case. But is it difficult to prove the circumstances of the murder, Mr. Vikram Singh? Considering that both of them were known to each other, considering that eventually it was found in a freezer several kilometers away from where the accused himself was?
Padmaja, yes, it is difficult, but certainly not impossible and doable. I would say that Dr. Jayanti Datta has raised very relevant points, and there's merit in what she had said. I take you back to the third case of Anjali, which happened on the 1st of January. These three cases go to show that yes, we could have done, when I say we, the police could have done much better and put their best foot forward, but unfortunately that professionalism was sadly missing. In the case of Aftab and Shraddha, yes, indeed, what I would feel that the case should have been put in the fast track court, give up the rudimentary evidence that you had in hand, and a supplementary charge sheet could have been given. But the delay in submission of the charge sheet gave the indication that perhaps there is an escape route. I would not like to believe what I am told, but it is the delay in which the charge sheet was submitted. Yes, very painstaking, 6,600 pages. But Padmaja, there are certain things that we put every ounce of our energy and ensure that we do not lose any loopholes. In this case, I would have been very happy if a fast track court has been resorted to and the conviction happened at the earliest. We have done it in the past and we should have done it in the case of Shraddha Valkar. We did not do it. And again, there are eerie similarities between Shraddha Valkar's case and Nikki's murder case. Similarity, rage, and brutalization of the dead body, then brazen manner in which the body was either shoved in the refrigerator in both the cases, and then absolutely no remorse or whatsoever. Under these circumstances, I feel, yes, the neighborhood watch system, the community policing and other tools in the arsenal of the police should have been taken recourse to and ensured that no child died before her time.
विकास जी, ये बताइए कि जब श्रद्धा का मर्डर हुआ था तो इसमें पूरा लव जिहाद का एंगल सामने आया था। आज बहुत लोग पूछ रहे हैं कि शायद उसमें लव जिहाद ढूंढने की वजह से ऐसे क्राइम्स और ज्यादा हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि क्राइम को क्राइम की दृष्टि से नहीं देखा जाता है, मजहब की दृष्टि से देखा जाता है।
जी हाँ, ये अभी मेरी बेटी के बारे में तो ऐसे ही हो गया है। ये हिंदू और मुस्लिम लड़का था करके ये उस एंगल से देख रहे हैं। तो मुझे तो इसके ऊपर जस्टिस पहले होना चाहिए। ये सब बाद में सोचा जा सकता है। तो अभी ये पहले इम्पोर्टेंस इसी में है कि ये पहले इसके ऊपर कुछ कानूनी जो अपनी कानून व्यवस्था को ठीक करना चाहिए। अभी ये लव जिहाद वगैरह ये बाद में भी देखा जा सकता है।
विकास जी, ये बताइए उन माता पिता को आप क्या कहेंगे, क्योंकि अब हर कोई माता पिता जो है, मम्मी डैडी, वो ये सोचेंगे कि क्या हमारी बेटी जो है वो बड़े शहर में सुरक्षित है। हर कोई चाहता है कि आप बड़े शहर में जाएं, पढ़ाई लिखाई करें, अपनी जिंदगी बेहतर बनाएं, पर ये चीजें क्या उनके मन में शंका, संशय डाल देंगी? उनको आप क्या कहेंगे, ऐसे लोगों, ऐसे माता पिता को जिनके बच्चे जो हैं बड़े शहर में पढ़ रहे हैं?
जी हाँ, ये अभी जब ये बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं, जब 18 साल के हो जाते हैं, उसके बाद ये से इनको पूरी फ्रीडम मिल जाती है। तो इसके बारे में भी कुछ कानूनी लिमिट्स होनी चाहिए जो नहीं हो पा रहे हैं अभी। ये उनका ये एज है जो ये बच्चे कुछ भी कर जाते हैं, तो फिर माँ बाप इसमें और क्या कर सकते हैं? तो माँ बाप पूरे हेल्पलेस हो जाते हैं, कि कुछ नहीं कर पाते हैं। तो इसके ऊपर कानूनी शिकंजा होना चाहिए।
It's Of course, the freedom of the young adults cannot be restricted, but it's also important to understand the psychology behind this crime that happened. For example, there were many people who were discussing today, Dr. Jayanti Datta, that if you do not want to be with someone, even after 3 years of a live-in relationship, you can simply break up. You can have a conversation. You can say, this is not working out. My parents are not supporting it. Why kill somebody that you've been in a relationship with for 3 years? What is the thinking behind it?
I think there are 3-4 components in it, Padmaja. One, your society does not accept this kind of outright, the relationship, live-in relationship. You have hurdles there. Secondly, if the girl you promise to marry, and if she goes to the court and she claims that you have promised me marriage but you have not, you are not marrying me, so it becomes a problematic thing for the man, to carry on with any other relationship. The girl is hesitant to go back to the society, forget about the parents. And the boy is not able to go ahead because he feels that now I'll be dragged into the court and it will be a kind of a, the claim will be that he has raped me. The third thing is, now when you say that live-in relationship is not accepted, fine, but that does not mean your right to leave is taken, snatched away from you, and you are brutalized, you are murdered, and you are cut into pieces. What happens now when you say, you just now said, should the parents be worried that the girls are going for higher studies into the metropoles? Shouldn't the boys' parents be worried that the boys are going to the metropoles and becoming heinous criminals? I think it's the law, which has to come in a very strong manner and render a very punitive kind of a punishment for this kind of thing, because this can happen anywhere. Whether the girl is educated or not, whether it is in metropole or not, you see this has happened in hilly areas also. It would take on, Padmaja, believe me, when you send this message across the society that you can get away with this kind of a crime, there will be more crimes like this. See, when a rapist
it should be the sternest message possible.
Spare even a 3-month-old child.
Absolutely. The other part of this crime that really stands out, Mr. Vikram Singh, is how can somebody commit murder in the morning, the wee hours of the morning, and get married later that evening? Is it possible for a regular person to indulge in a crime like this?
Certainly not, Padmaja, but there are Frankensteins of all hues and colors, and these two Frankensteins and monsters have defied all definition and all definition of crime. But I have seen many such Frankensteins in my career, and I would say that there are a rare breed, but these are not exceptions. And I would say again, for a person to slaughter his live-in partner and then get married, that of course speaks volumes about how insensitive and how really depraved that person was. And it is not that these things could have gone unnoticed. And vigilant neighbor, a vigilant police surveillance systems could have detected through CCTV systems and others, the nakas, that the vehicle moved for no fewer than 50 kilometers, and yet there was no checks and balances. Again, it is the deterrence of the police in bandobast like security proceedings, patrolling, nakabandi, that could have deterred somebody going for a misadventure like this. But Padmaja, tragically, nothing like this happened, and I would say that all the three failed, not only Nikki but Shraddha also, the policing system, the society, of course I would not even name the monsters, but yes, the neighbors and the police also failed, and both the girls died before their time.
Since you spoke about the failure of society, I want to take that question to Dr. Jayanti Datta. It may seem old-fashioned to say this, but is it that relationships have become more transactional? So crimes like this are on the rise, and that there is an inherent breakdown of communication within the family, and it leads to a situation where sometimes the family doesn't even know what's going on.
Absolutely. An unfortunate scenario, Padmaja, is far more crucial, that you spare the parents. I refuse to believe that Aftab's parents did not know. I refuse to believe that the boy's parents here did not know. You allow them to get away with, and you are not accepting the liaison. ठीक है, वो लड़की आ गई, so it's all right, you stayed with her, and now you get married afresh. Who knows, that other girl will also not be mated with the same fate. Now, of course, you said that insensitivity of the community, insensitivity among the relationship, it's there in the primary relationship also. Otherwise, a child was taken always as a gift of God. The child is not safe today in a primary relationship, that is the blood relationship, and it is primarily again because there is no punishment. A child is not safe with the father, child is not safe with the cousins. Now this girl, I'm sure the parents did have an inkling that, you know, she's probably staying with somebody. Now you cannot say that 2018 onwards she was staying with somebody and you didn't know it. And the same is the case with the boy's parents. Why would you spare the parents of Aftab? Why would you spare the parents of this boy also? And Anjali's case, you see, for such a long time, imagine the postmortem says the girl did not have any brain in the skull. So you must have taken care to hang the girl's head in a way so that it is smashed totally. Okay. And how can you do that without even getting caught by any of the people around in the traffic?
Okay.
And
so
here,
a lot of these loopholes, of course, we're looking at each case individually. Looking at each case individually.
Not to take a call.
Yeah, and if we were to restrict ourselves to the case over here at Nikki Yadav, विकास जी, क्या आपको लगता है कि यहाँ पर जो अपराधी है या जो अक्यूज्ड है उसके फैमिली का रोल भी जांच की जानी चाहिए उस पे?
मैं वही तो पहले से ही मांग कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन उस फैमिली को क्यों अभी तक इन्वॉल्व नहीं किया गया? वो बाकायदा ये सब जानते थे कि ये क्या पहले से क्या हो रहा है मेरे बेटी के साथ और उसका बेटा क्या कर रहा है, तो फिर भी उनके ऊपर कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं हो रही है, तो इनको भी इस पे इंक्लूड करना ही चाहिए.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. You know, every time such a crime surfaces, it shakes the conscience of society, but perhaps it's also sending us a message that if there is a fundamental breakdown in communication, not just in society, but also the family unit, perhaps it's best to at least revive some of those time-tested traditions. Thanks very much, both gentlemen and Dr. Datta, for joining me. Thanks for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
आ चुका है पोको X5 Pro का बॉक्स टेबल पे. अब इसको जल्दी से करेंगे अनबॉक्स. ब्लैक और येलो कलर का ये बॉक्स है, जो ज्यादातर पोको के स्मार्टफोन पे आपको येलो कलर, जो इसका सिग्नेचर कलर है, वो दिखाई देगा. Sometimes it is really tricky to take the tapes off, so let me try it with my nails. One tape down successfully. गाइज, ये जो फीलिंग है ना अनबॉक्स करने वाली, ये काफी मजेदार लगती है जब भी आप कोई नया गैजेट अनबॉक्स